right now. All right. I think we are live. What is going on, everybody? This is Rand Thor 19, the man with the million, back again with another Friday episode. I love it. Friday. Love doing the show on Friday of the Xbox 2 podcast. And with me, as always, my co-host, my buddy, my friend, my amigo, the one and only Jez Corden of Windows Central. What's up, buddy?
Hi, Rand. How are you doing today, buddy?
Oh, no, please. We're not starting this already with your American accent stuff. So we're not.
We're doing the whole podcast in American accents this week, guys. Guys and girls, gals, whatever. I am an American now. And that's how we're going to roll. No, I can't do it. I can't do it. I can just feel the stars and stripes infecting my blood. But no. How are you, Rand? Well, we're speaking a nice British accent.
Yes, please.
For the people.
Give us that creamy, smooth British accent that everybody's so used to instead of that horrible American one. So, anyways,
it's James Bond week, so we have to be British this week, right?
Does James Bond come out this week?
I think so.
I don't know.
It comes out this week or last week or next week. I don't know.
It always comes out in the UK first and then comes out in US the second week. Right. I'm not sure if it's this week.
Okay. Yeah, it's soon, and it's taking Britain by storm.
Is it the last Daniel Craig James Bond?
Yes, indeed. And he's now got a little thing on the Hollywood floor, the star thing. What is it?
Oh, the Hollywood Walk of Fame, I believe it's called.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, that one. He's got one of them. Awesome, right?
Very awesome. Yeah. Ricky Spitz says, I love the Xbox 2 podcast starring Jez Corden and featuring Randall Thor. That is true. Got to give a shout out to everybody here already. We got Kay Asante. We have my brother Pong Soul. We got Gunstar. We got CP Goblin 2D, Supernova, UK Lad, Fifth Horseman. A lot of people in the chat. We appreciate everyone being here. Love doing the show on Fridays. Like I always said, me and Jez would always prefer to do the show Fridays, but sometimes it can't be helped. In fact, we thought we have to do the show tomorrow because you had a doctor's appointment today. Is everything good? Does your doctor's appointment go okay?
Yeah, it's still good, man. It's all good. They don't think there's anything serious wrong with me. I'm just sensitive, apparently. But, we'll see. Got to have some tests, but it's all good. And I got home right in time for the show. So, yeah, we're all good. Rock and roll. Friday show. And, Special Nick will be sleeping soundly tonight. That we don't cut into his show
right?
time.
Oh, because he gets so upset when we have to do a show on Saturday. So pissed off. Even though we do the show way before him, he gets so mad because he thinks that we just take up all of his viewers. But hey, me and you, we're not the big time insider like Special Nick is.
No,
although lately Nick has been a PlayStation insider. He hasn't really.
All right.
He hasn't really put out any stuff about Xbox recently.
Has he done some PlayStation insiderings lately?
It seems like it, yeah. Anyways,
maybe we should start a new site called PlayStation Era.
Maybe you should. I was teasing everybody in chat earlier when we were waiting to start because we always start. I know people are like, "You're always late," but we literally always start the show 15 minutes after. Right? That's what we do here. And you were telling me all the Xbox secrets. All the Xbox secrets, all the games, all that stuff. And I was teasing chat. I'm like, Jez is telling me all the secrets right now. So now that I know all the Xbox secrets, would you like to share any of the Xbox secrets with our audience? Or will they have to wait for future Windows Central articles?
You'll have to wait. Either for an article or, maybe I think TGS is going to be fun this year. Put it that way.
TGS, that's already over.
I mean, TGAs. Too many TGs, man. TGA, the Game Awards, with your boy, Jeff Keighley. Not Grubb. I almost said Jeff Grubb then. Hey, Jeff Grubb should just start his own show. Pretend to be Jeff Keighley. I think it'd work.
That'd be pretty good. He already does his own podcast. Why not do the Jeff Grubb Awards, right?
The Grubbs. I like it.
The Grubbs. I like Jeff Grubb. He's cool. So we got a channel member, KS Might. He's been a member for 7 months. He says, Jez, say car keys in a Boston accent.
I don't know how to do a Boston accent, but I should, because Daniel Rubino, my boss, is from Boston, and my other boss is from Boston too, Al Sacco. But I don't really know how the Boston accent works. Can you do it, Rand? Can you do a Boston accent? He says to say car keys in a Boston accent, it's khakis.
Khakis, yeah.
Khakis.
Yeah, it's like that.
What accent is that? Car keys. That's how I'd say it in American. I'm gonna use my car keys. Is that still Texas?
Yeah, it sounds a little more southern to me.
I've actually been trying to learn other American accents. I've been trying to pare down my Texas a bit, but I just can't seem to do it. So like if someone ever says to me like, do an American accent, it's just sort of Texas just comes out. I don't know why. It's maybe it's because it's one of the stronger ones, you know. Man, it's funny. Accents are funny, man. I love accents.
Ultra SCP in the chat says, best show on the planet. Rand and Jez, great chemistry. Keep up the good work. Loyal fan from Portugal. I always love to see where everybody is listening live or later. It's incredible to see, like, you know, you think like, oh, you're from the UK, I'm from, you know, the US, right? And we have listeners from like all over the world, and it's always incredible when people say where they're from. So shout out to you, Ultra. Shout out to everybody listening in Portugal. Let us know where you're listening in the chat. I love to see the diversity of, you know, the Xbox audience and, you know, the reach we do have. I think that's super interesting. Brett Bingham in the super chat, Jez, says, should Valve make a 25th anniversary of Half-Life, Blue Shift, and Opposing Force for console? What do you think about that?
Man, I think Valve would make so much more money if they used the Half-Life IP just a little bit more.
Probably,
you know,
yeah.
It's funny, like, they made their first Half-Life foray in like a decade was a VR game. And they know not a lot of people have got VR headsets. Yeah, that's what they're planned to do. Valve is a law unto themselves. So I'd love to see them use the Half-Life IP a bit more on anything. Do something with it. But, you know, I don't care what it is. But, you know, Valve does what Valve does, you know. So what can you say?
Yeah.
What can you say?
Hustle and Motivate, who's been a member for 4 months, says, hello, everyone. Definitely happy to support one of my favorite podcasts. Thank you for being here and supporting the channel, Hustle. I really appreciate it. Pajama Shark says, hey, Jez, if router is pronounced rooter, then is house a hoose?
A hoose?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I suppose that makes sense because it's OU. But I think it's the E after the T that corrupts it. I don't know, man. We need to get a linguistic up in here. Maybe we should start a linguistics podcast.
We should.
Called yeah.
Supernova says, tell him about Avowed, Jez. Crying emoji, laughing emoji. Maybe Jez already has. Maybe I know lots about Avowed.
That'd be interesting, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that would be super interesting.
All I'll say about Avowed is that I went from being sort of like, what is that going to be, to being extremely hyped about it in the past week.
And there was some Obsidian news that we're going to talk about later that has to deal, well, not necessarily with Avowed, but I thought it was a little interesting tidbit. Brett says, Rand and Jez, name 3 OG Xbox games you would like to be remastered, remade, or rebooted. That's interesting. Well, one of them is already being remade, and that is Knights of the Old Republic. So that's one. I actually would love to see Jade Empire get remade. I really was a big fan of Jade Empire. And let's see. Jez, do you have any ones that right off the top of your head? I mean, like, how about a remake of the OG Splinter Cell on the OG Xbox? How about that one? There you go. That's a couple of mine right there. No. See, we do need Splinter Cell. I don't want to. You know, your slander towards my boy Sam Fisher. But you know what? It's warranted because Ubisoft is kind of on some weird things lately. We'll talk about what Ubisoft is doing, but. I almost kind of don't want to see what a new Splinter Cell would look like from them. Like, I'm at that point. Like, I want Splinter Cell to come back a lot. I love the franchise. You see people tweeting about it all the time. Paris had a tweet about it. Like, just bring it back, please. But then you see some of their game announcements, and you're kind of just like, you know what? Is that like a monkey's paw kind of wish, where you wish for Splinter Cell to comes back, but it's in a form or function that you don't really enjoy? So it's like, can modern day Ubisoft actually make a really good Splinter Cell in the way that the Splinter Cell fans want? And I'm not sure they really can, which is disappointing. So we have a lot of people all over the. We got someone. Arash is from Iran. We got Game Plato from France. Craig Jackson in Fort Worth. Horizon Herbs in South Africa. You see all the diversity here in the chat, Jez? From people everywhere. New Zealand, Mexico, Italy, Iraq. Like, people all over the world listening to the Xbox 2. It's humbling.
It reminds me of what Phil said. That gaming brings people together, no matter where you're from, or whatever your background. Gaming brings people together. That's the power of gaming, and I believe that firmly. It's awesome to see where everyone's from.
Yeah,
we're all just people at the end of the day trying to get on.
East Texas Alex says he's from East Texas. Well, it's in the name, so thank you for the support. And Gunstar75 in the super chat says, Americans saying Craig is offensive, frankly.
Yeah, you say it like Craig.
Craig?
It's actually Craig.
Craig?
His name's Craig. Craig. Not Craig. Craig. There's an AI sound there, so it's Craig.
Wisconsin? Drew Rogers says Wisconsin. From
Wisconsin?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Cracking me up. But, it's cool, man. It's all cool. So, should we get into some topics?
Yeah, I know. We got the topics. We got the 20th anniversary stuff, PlayStation copy and Xbox. Marvel Avengers doing something that they said they never would do. Like, there's the Twitch leak. I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff here that we're going to get to. Big stuff. But I want to talk about some of the things that we've been playing lately or doing. And I want to start off with just saying, Jez, after I read this super chat from Don't Look, who says, can we convince Xbox to allow Lord of the Ring Conquest back compat? I would imagine licensing issues are a problem there for that, so I don't really think that'll ever happen. But I gotta tell you, Jez, I'm a proud papa right now.
Why?
Because after the show, last week, where you were playing Halo Big Team Battle, you had some tweets about Halo that just really made me incredibly happy. And I'm gonna try to find him here on the good old twitter.com, because you were very much, you weren't being like, yeah, this Halo game is okay, right? You were like, this Halo game is the greatest game Xbox has ever made. It's better than Gears of War. It's better than everything. Said that. I mean, Jez, it's
no wasteland.
You pretty much, why do you tweet so much? Like, finding your like, what the hell?
I was thinking that when you said I'm gonna find this tweet, I was thinking, good luck.
Like, I'm just gonna have to keep on scrolling through your tweet. Like, how do you tweet so much? Like, what do you do here?
I just lie in bed with insomnia and just tweet. Just tweet randomly. I really should slow it down a bit. But
we have one tweet here. The tech test wiped out any skepticism I had for Halo Infinite. Bring on the full game. I'm a Halo fan now. All caps. Right?
Man, it's just crazy, like, how my expectations have flipped around, because after last year, I was just like, after the whole Craig thing, I was like, man, there's no way this game's going to deliver. It's going to be another, like, with COVID going on and the way Microsoft seems to do things, I was just like, there's no way this game's going to deliver. And after playing the tech test, but also playing Battlefield's alpha and their beta and Call of Duty Vanguard, there's just no competition. It's like Battlefield, is Battlefield, and it feels rough. Battlefield feels like it's coming in hot. And I saw that EA was trying to damage control this week by saying, that build's months old. Maybe it is, but it doesn't feel smooth and polished to play. There was all kinds of glitches all over the screen, weird lag and rubber banding. The rubber banding is back from Battlefield 3, which it's just so irritating. And it's like, Yeah, and then Call of Duty Vanguard, like you already heard me rant about Call of Duty Vanguard in a previous episode. Like it just feels complete mess, unbalanced, super lazy, just a reskin of last year's Call of Duty, whatever. But Halo feels so polished and smooth and dynamic. It just feels so dynamic. Like after playing like Far Cry 6, for example, and then having like the memory of Halo Infinite fresh in my mind, the physics and the way the different objects in the game interact with each other. And then you play a game like Far Cry, which is quite rigid and scripted in its like combat. It just feels like on another level. It's like I want shooters to be this dynamic now. And so I've done a 180 on Halo, man. I'm just so excited for it now. It's just the dynamism of the game, like the way that all the different features interact, like grappling hook onto
dynamism, huh? I like that.
Dynamism.
I like it.
It's dynamic. The sandbox, like the physics, just feels so dynamic, and like I'm just excited for it.
Like, look at this tweet from Jez on October 2nd, which was I think on Saturday. Fucking Halo Infinite is so good. Like, you would have told us. Everybody in chat here knows, Jez has definitely led the crusade against like Halo being a Lego game, and it's not going to be good. Like he's been leading, he's been the main cheerleader about this, and I've had to sit here and put up with it for so long. Halo being my favorite franchise, and of course I have my own questions surrounding Halo about the campaign and stuff like that, and those weren't answered. But like to see Jez be converted to a Halo fan, to a franchise that now Jez loves, better than Gears, better than anything Xbox has done.
No, I never said that.
It doesn't matter. You said it.
There's still questions about the campaign.
Sure.
The multiplayer's unlock. Big team battle is the most fun I've had in a shooter for a really long time. But there's still a huge question mark over the campaign. And like, can they make open world Halo fun or semi-open world, whatever they're calling it?
Well, with all the little tools that they have in the skybox, I would imagine those are in the sandbox rather, skybox. I would imagine those are all going to be in the campaign too. The physics-based gameplay. So, I think I think the campaign's gonna play extremely well. I think people's question is like the story. Like, how's the story gonna stack up? But honestly, like, I'm just so proud of you, Jez. I see those tweets and I'm just, it just makes me smile that we're on the same page when it comes to Halo Infinite multiplayer. And as you mentioned, and I've seen a lot of people tweet on Twitter about this, talk about it. Like, it seems Halo, after a year delay, which obviously the game needed, and it's better for it, which is why games should always be delayed instead of coming out, right? Especially if they think there's going to be problems. The game's in a better state. We're going to get a better product. So, but when you compare it to, as you said, you played Call of Duty alpha or beta. I don't play Call of Duty multiplayer, so I don't care. But I take your word for it, and I also, see all the talk on Twitter that it wasn't that great, and Halo basically outshone it. And then the Battlefield beta is going on right now. There's kind of seems to be a divide. Some people really seem to like it, even though they also admit that it's maybe a little rough or doesn't look overwhelmingly good, but it is a beta. Some people are like, this game needs to be delayed. Absolutely 100% needs to be delayed. It's coming in rough. But a lot of people agree that out of like the big shooters releasing this fall, like Halo Infinite seems to be in a better state. Do you agree with that? And you pretty much said you agreed with that, or you yeah. So
it's like I think Forbes had noticed that that Halo Infinite is trending higher than Battlefield and Call of Duty Vanguard this year, which is like it's such a turnaround to see for Halo after last year. But like, they do have the benefit of a year delay. They have a benefit of scarcity. There hasn't been a Halo game for a long time. People are fatigued with Call of Duty, and Vanguard multiplies the fatigue by making it World War II, and we had Battlefield 5 World War II. We had a World War II Call of Duty pretty recently. I can't even remember what it was called now. What was it called? The recent World War II? Was it just Call of Duty?
It was like Call of Duty
World War II. World War? I don't know.
I played it. It was a couple years ago. It was also by Sledgehammer, who was doing Vanguard this year. I think it was just Call of Duty World War II. I think.
We're fatigued with World War II, basically, and Call of Duty is coming out with another one, which I don't know.
Well, it's because
I don't think it's the right move.
that's because Battlefield just did World War II. Like
Yeah, I get it.
after everyone going modern, suddenly like going back in the past seemed to be the thing to do. But then everybody got tired of doing World War again because we had done it for so long.
Yeah,
So
I loved Battlefield 1. Battlefield 1, I know like it's controversial with some people, but Battlefield 1 is probably my favorite Battlefield ever, personally. I loved how gritty it was, how like authentic feeling it was, the visuals and the way it played. I love Battlefield 1. But I'm looking forward to returning to the modern theater of combat. And I do like Battlefield 2042. It does feel like it's a strong basis, like robots running around, like robot dogs and stuff like that. Near future warfare. I think it's an interesting setting, and you start those epic Battlefield moments, like helicopters crashing above you and exploding. The sound design in Battlefield is just on another level. Sound design in Battlefield is just incredible. Like no one can take that away from DICE. But like you say, it does feel a bit rough right now, so bit nervous about that, not gonna lie. But man, Halo just feels like it's unlocked. So
yeah, and I did see that Forbes article that Paul Tassi wrote about how on Google's search engine, like Halo is basically trending way higher than Vanguard and Battlefield, which is incredible. So are we looking at a potential Return of the King, Jez? Is Halo going to come back to reclaim its throne after 5-6 years of being away? And Call of Duty and Battlefield kind of eating its lunch a little bit here and there. Warzone free-to-play taking Call of Duty to the next level, but people kind of not really digging this new Call of Duty. Like, are we going to see Halo return to claim the top spot with its free-to-play model? Like, I don't think... Like, I think Warzone hit 100 million players, right? I don't think Halo Infinite will reach 100 million players. But
I don't know, man.
Maybe it will. I mean, they do have cloud gaming and everything, but I guess we'll find out. So I
think like they might go like I think because it's free to play and it's because it's on Steam and it's free to play. I think Halo Infinite has a better chance. The multiplayer has a better chance at hitting that true massive viral scale that Call of Duty Warzone is. I think out of any Halo, this has the strongest chance. But we'll see. We'll see. We just have to wait. Either way, it's going to be a successful game. It's going to be big and successful, and I think it's going to be. It's honestly been a great year for Xbox for diversity. We have Flight Simulator hit console. We've got Age of Empires 4 coming out for strategy game fans. We got like Halo coming. We've just had Wasteland DLC, which seems
Psychonauts
great.
2 came out in August and was going to be a Game of the Year contender. Forza Horizon 5. Forza Horizon 5 comes out. I mean, the Game of the Year stuff. I don't really think this year there's a clear winner, like there was last year. Like, say what you will about Last of Us 2, but like you knew that was going to win. Like nothing else really kind of, because you always got to look at Game of the Year from like what the press, because they're the ones who votes on it, especially for the Keeleys. So you kind of knew that was going to be the game that, because it was like 93 or whatever. It was highly rated, far beyond any other game. This year is really not. There's really like not a game you can point to that's like, yep, that game is going to win. However, like Xbox Game Studios might be represented pretty well, because I do think Psychonauts 2 is going to be nominated for Game of the Year, and probably Deathloop. They're both extremely highly rated. And then you get into something like, could this be the year Forza Horizon 5 breaks through the Forza series and gets an actual Game of the Year nomination? Because when you think about the games that might get nominated, you got like Ratchet and Clank, you got Psychonauts, you got you have Deathloop, you have something like Metroid Dread, which just released. Looks incredible. It's actually, honestly, I'm considering hooking up my Nintendo Switch again and buying Metroid Dread to play. Like, there hasn't been a Nintendo game to do that, but like, I've seen the reviews, I've watched some gameplay stuff, it looks incredible, and I'm like, you know what, I like Metroid a lot, even though I'm more of a fan of like Metroid Prime style, like the first person stuff, but like, I think I might actually have to hook up my Switch and buy it, Jez.
Yeah, like, I feel the same way. My Switch has been in the drawer since Pokemon Sword came out, and I'm just like, I was literally thinking, man, I'm never going to touch the Switch again, probably. But like, Metroid Dread is looking pretty hot right now, and like I almost like I feel compelled to play it because I want to convince Nintendo this is a good IP that you should support properly. And it's 60 frames per second. Like, one of the things that really irritates me about the Switch is going back to playing games like 25, 30 frames per second. I tried Monster Hunter Rise on Switch, the demo. It's unplayable for me. Like, after playing like Monster Hunter World on the Xbox Series X at 60 frames, there's just I can't go back to that. But like Metroid Dread looks like it was designed perfectly for that console. And man, I might have to do it as well, man. I might have to hook up the old Switch and dust it off a bit. Hopefully, try and get some charge out of the battery because my battery is really flat. My Switch is like a Gen 1 version, Gen 1 model. So like the battery's basically dead. But hopefully I'll be able to dock it and play. But we'll see, man. I probably will do it. But I got so much other stuff I want to play as well at the minute.
Right.
Oh, man.
We got a super chat here from Drawn NTJ, who says, hey, you guys want to play Halo Infinite when it comes out? With my gamer tag is Drawn TJ, huge fan of this podcast. Sure, I'm sure me and Jez will be playing a lot of Halo Infinite this fall, so just send me a message on Xbox and we can definitely play some when the game comes out. Josh Tarpley says, I'm trying so hard to enjoy Avengers, but it's so annoying with its loot artificial leveling up. Why the hell does the Hulk pick up gear to punch harder? That is it's pretty funny. We'll be talking about that because it's pretty shady what they did. Dave Lopez says, is Scorn coming this year or has it been delayed to next year? I think it's been delayed to 2022. I think if you don't have a release date for a game right now, at this point in time, I think you can pretty much rest assured it's next year at this point, right, Jez?
Well, I don't know. I literally had a press release today for an indie game that just announced
indie games are a little bit different. Right? Well, yeah, it is, but I think they already said it's coming next year. So,
if they already said it, then yeah, it's a done deal. But
Supernova says Jez the American Shrimp Slinger with some cowboy emojis, and Chris says, glad to hear Jez jumped on the Halo train. In your opinion, what needs to be done to the Gears franchise to bring it back to glory alongside Halo? So yeah, Jez,
it's funny you asked that.
You're the Gears guy, right? So what does Gears need to do? In your opinion?
Well, I actually have an article planned, which is basically answering that question, which is what Gears needs to do to advance the franchise. Because I do think, almost like Ubisoft, like recycling the same animations over and over again, it just it starts making you feel like you're just playing the same game, and the formula hasn't evolved enough. Although, like Gears 5, I loved it. And and there is a bigger gap between Gears games than there is between Ubisoft games. So like you do start to miss it a little bit between games to some degree. But I do think they need to massively evolve the formula, and I do have some ideas on how to do that. I think they could borrow some ideas from like Ninja Theory. I think the chainsaw gameplay could evolve because they did experiment a bit with melee combat, and I feel like because basically the chainsaw lance is a command grab, right? Where you just run up with B and then you get like a canned animation. But what if you could actually like just slash people up with it? I think that'd be badass. I think there's a lot they could do to make the combat in that game more dynamic. And they did experiment a bit with the whole Hive Buster stuff and some of the like ultimates and the whole Jack gameplay and evolving and growing and stuff like that. But I think Gears has a bright future ahead of it. I just think they need to break the rules of the formula a bit and like truly betray expectations. And I think Gears can become I think Gears can get to the next level quite easily as long as they have the balls to break free of the Gears box, should we call it. I'll write more about that in depth next week probably. So
I think Gears needs to take a break and then come back breaking the box, so to speak. Being different. Like you need to get Gears out of people's thoughts, have Coalition work on something else, then come back to it with a completely different take on Gears. Because honestly, I do feel a lot of the problems with Gears is that people are just tired of the franchise. Almost maybe in the same way people are tired of Far Cry at this point. Yeah. There's been a Gears game essentially every 2 to 3 years since 2006. And it's roughly remained the same. The multiplayer's relatively remains, static. And when the Coalition tries to make changes to different weapons, or maybe depowers the Gnasher, the hardcore Gears fans get upset because to be really good at Gears multiplayer, you gotta wall bounce, you gotta be good at shotguns, and I think for normal people, it's pretty difficult to get into the Gears multiplayer that way. Whereas Halo,
Very different.
it's
very different.
Yeah, Halo, Call of Duty, Battlefield, like you can feel good about yourself because you will get kills. Even though you'll die quite a bit, you will, do damage. But if you're playing like again, you could get rolled in Gears. I just think I think people are they see the Gears formula and how it controls. And I think people are a little bit over that. So they sort of need to break that mold, like you said.
I think someone in chat, Philippe Guerin, sorry if I've pronounced that wrong. I want Gears to be like Remnant from the Ashes. And honestly, I actually spoke to a Gears dev a while ago and said, have you guys played Remnant from the Ashes? Because I think this formula would work really well for Gears. Like,
Remnant of the Ashes could make it more Dark Soulsian, essentially Souls-like.
Like make Gears like Microsoft Souls-like. Sure, you can add different difficulties for people who want the more classic experience. But I really think if Gears was if the combat was deeper and you really explored what the Lancer could bring to the table, and you really explored what gear and stuff could do, because it's a post-apocalyptic world, right? Essentially. And we don't really get much of a sense of that. I think there's a lot they can do with Gears if they are willing to break the mold and try something truly new and fresh. Don't even call it Gears 6. Call it a Gears spin-off or something. Just try something new. Do what Resident Evil 7 did. But I'll talk more about that next week. And I already see people in chat saying, "Oh no, don't do this." And that's exactly why Gears is dying, because the fans don't want them to try something new, But alas, it is what it is. Yeah. And that's the problem when franchises get old. People don't want change, Managing the expectations of your core fans while trying something new, it's hard to do. And I really do think if Microsoft wants to find the next generation of Gears players, they need to try something new and fresh. But you can appeal to both fan bases. And I'm someone who's been playing Gears since the beginning, and I love Gears. And people saying Gears isn't dying. I don't mean Gears is dying. There's still loads of people who play Gears multiplayer, but it could be so much more than it is. For Microsoft, if a game isn't growing, that's as good as it dying. For a big company, if you're just getting the same stuff over and over again, they're not happy with it.
Yeah.
So
we got a super chat here from Achievement that says Nintendo owns a third stake in Pokemon Company. Couldn't Microsoft buy a majority and put Pokemon on Xbox? Imagine Obsidian's Pillars team working on Pokemon. Could Microsoft do that, Jez? Buy a majority stake in the Pokemon Company and put Pokemon on Xbox? Which would be
I have no idea.
Which would be the worst day of all time. Imagine waking up to that news. Microsoft acquires the Pokemon Company. Pokemon games exclusive to Xbox. I'd be like, kill me now.
I would do it, man. I would love that. But I don't know if they're taking investment and stuff like that. That Pokemon Company works with studios like Tencent and who did they worked with? I think they worked with Tencent for that Pokemon Unite MOBA game on mobile and Switch, the free-to-play one. Obviously, they worked with Niantic on Pokemon Go. I don't think Pokemon doesn't need investment, man. It's the biggest media franchise on the planet. Pokemon's bigger than Marvel. It's literally bigger than Marvel. Well, not a lot of people know that.
In regards to the Gears discussion, Jez, 9Live says, do you think the next Gears multiplayer could go free to play? Do you think that's the next step into... And maybe even the next step for a lot of Microsoft's multiplayer franchises? If you're going to make Halo free to play, why not make Gears free to play? Why not, any Forza Horizon? Well, I guess that's maybe a little bit different, but I think they'll look at what happens with they look at what happens with Halo Infinite multiplayer, and if going free to play helps Halo Infinite multiplayer get the reach they really want it to have, I think they'll do that for Gears too.
I mean, maybe they'll even do it for Gears 5. Just make them all, because it's already a separate client, isn't it? I think, or something like
Yeah,
that.
something like that.
You can install just the multiplayer. So, or was it Crackdown that was like that?
Crackdown was like that. Yes, we don't know if Halo Infinite's going to be 100% like that just yet, but I think maybe making Gears free to play is something they can do for sure. Because I think it's going to help Halo a lot. But then Halo has a big base on PC right now. Gears really doesn't. You know, like how many Gears games are on PC? Like, wasn't it just like 1, and then 2 and 3 never came, or Judgment, and
then they went back. Yeah,
and then 4 and 5 did. There's not like a big market for Gears on PC like there is for Halo. Drawn says, who do you think Microsoft is going to buy? This is a question we get all the time. I get questions about this all the time in DMs. I'm sure you do, Jez. And who knows? They talk to a lot of companies. There's always discussions going on. You know, Jeff Grubb talked last week, which I think we even mentioned, that Microsoft's current targets might be Crystal Dynamics and IO Interactive and Avalanche, because they're working on partnering with them on games. Crystal Dynamics with Perfect Dark, Avalanche with Contraband, and IO Interactive with Project Dragon. So they want to see how those would perform, or how they would work, if they fit the culture, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and if they would be open to acquisition. So, you know, I don't know who Xbox is going to buy next. I don't know if they'll buy anybody this year. It doesn't really matter. Like, acquisitions will happen when they actually happen. You can't rush these things. You know, people were like, oh, well, PlayStation is going to be buying Bluepoint at the beginning of this year. It took them essentially 10 months to buy them. These things take time. Things fall apart too. Like, things can fall apart at the very last second, and just nothing happens because of it. So, I mean, we've talked. I mean, Xbox, and then plus, you know, I know everybody wants the big thing. Bethesda has trained people to be like, well, if it's something less than Bethesda or a publisher, it's not worth it. But like, don't be surprised if Xbox goes for smaller developers, you know, or Xbox goes for a mobile developer in their goal to reach 3 billion gamers, like a developer that can really fit their franchises to hit the mobile market. They may buy somebody that you don't care about, that people can't use for their console or on Twitter. Like, just because, you know, you want to talk about Warner Brothers and Ubisoft and, you know, Take-Two all day on Twitter doesn't mean Microsoft isn't also pursuing, you know, a smaller dev, or a dev that makes, you know, a wider range of content. Like Phil's talked about kid-rated content, right? And that's one of the things you can look at Game Pass, and you look at Game Pass and you can't really recommend it for kids, because a lot of the content on Game Pass is more mature. And Xbox doesn't have a studio that makes, you know, kid-friendly stuff. Like, Xbox really missed out on having Fall Guys. That's something that Xbox really needs, is that, like, kind of kid-friendly party stuff. And I think Xbox might acquire a studio that could do that. And I'm sure most people in chat, if that happened, they would not be excited. They'd be like, this is bull. But Microsoft has their things they want to hit. You know, they have 23 studios now, which is way more than the 5 that they started last generation with. Everything's pretty good. I understand people's desire for more, better. But you just got to be patient. Things will happen. I mean, I feel like we talk about this every week, but then people ask us every single week. You know, Jez?
Yeah. Maybe we need no questions about this.
Well, I mean, you know, I always answer questions from people that support the show with the super chats, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And
I mean, acquisitions are exciting, but they'll happen when they happen. You know, you just gotta be patient. You know, and I know. There's a general anxiety about, like, what if a studio I love gets acquired? Like, even some smaller studios, I'd be devastated if, like, a studio like 11-bit got acquired. Because I really love 11-bit studios games like Frostpunk, Children of Morta, and stuff like that. They're not a huge mega publisher or anything, but if they got acquired, I'd be sad, because I'd be like, oh no, are those games going to skip Xbox and PC now? You know, kind of thing. But so I do get it, but no, none of us know anything. Like, I think Microsoft's really locked down untighten their belts on information regarding that stuff. So patience, friends, patience.
Yes, patience is a virtue. You got to be very patient. What else we got here? Slippery Moose Cake says, when is Jez going to reveal his English accent is fake? Yes.
Oh man, a lot of people just haven't heard my accent, like the Black Country West Midlands accent they call it. And when I was in LA, someone was like, "Oh, are you Australian?" You know, I was like, "No, I'm not Australian. What you on about?" Because if I don't speak like Harry Potter, then they don't get it. You know?
Yeah.
Like someone from a southerner saying Bath and stuff like that.
Near Enoch says, playing with my OLED Switch, which just came out, and I've seen a lot of people being mesmerized by the screen. And now I'm set on getting an OLED TV for my PS5 and Series X. Yeah, man, gotta get that OLED. It'll make your gaming experience even better if you get the LG C1, which I think is on sale, 65-inch for like $1,800 or whatever it is. I have the CX, but it's basically the same model, but yeah, once you get that OLED and you see these games running on it and 120 frames, you'll be able to play Halo Infinite multiplayer. Like, it definitely makes your gaming experience even better. So, if you're in the market for a new TV and you got the extra funds, I definitely recommend an OLED. Brett says, how do I play Microsoft Souls? You got to open the Microsoft Windows first. Interesting. He also says, I don't care who Microsoft buys as long as it's a good fit. They make quality games and can introduce new IP and genres I like. See, he gets it. Chinook Guy says, here's a question that I think should be answered. Why did Microsoft buy and or create studios to tell them do one game IP and nothing else and get surprised when people got tired of it? What do you think, Jez? He's basically saying, why did Microsoft make the Coalition, name them after something in the Gears universe, have them only make Gears, and then be surprised when eventually people get tired of said franchise?
I mean, everyone always assumes they're forced to make Gears. They ain't forced to make Gears. They chose to work on Gears. So like, I speak to people at Coalition all the time, and they all love Gears. They joined the Coalition because they want to work on Gears. They love that franchise. So like, this whole argument that they're forced to make Gears is just incorrect. So like, put that aside to one moment, and you just sort of left with like, someone needs to take the risk to betray expectations about what that franchise is to move it forward. That's all, you know. And if the Coalition had a pitch for another game and Microsoft liked it, they'd be making that other game instead, you know. And I'm sure, in fact, I can pretty much guarantee the Coalition's making a game that isn't Gears right now. I know that the Coalition has 2 projects right now. I think Jeff Grubb said it first, but I've confirmed it myself since. They're working on 2 projects right now, and I'm pretty sure one of those isn't Gears. So, you know, hang tight. You know, there's a lot of stuff in the pipeline right now.
Yes. And I even think there's, according to even job listings, like a spin-off Halo game in the works as well. You know, 343 is a big studio. You know, obviously all hands on deck for Halo Infinite, but once Halo Infinite comes out and it does this 10-year journey, right, live service, like, some people at 343 necessarily won't be needed. Like, why not make a spin-off in the Halo universe? You don't necessarily need to make a new IP, but you can make something that is a little bit different, or a different side of something. So I feel like that's I'm interested in seeing what they're going to do. Like, Coalition's project, even though it's smaller, at least starting off smaller, like, I'm interested in seeing what that is, because I think they're one of the most talented studios, not only in the entire game industry, but they're the workhorse of Xbox game studios. I mean, they basically carried the Xbox One generation. They put out Gears Ultimate, they put out Gears 4, they put out Gears 5. Like, them and like Playground basically carried the Xbox One generation. You know, you can rely on them, and Xbox giving them more time to kind of learn Unreal Engine 5. They have all these other studios, so now you don't need to rely on them, where you're like, you know what? You need to get Gears 6 out immediately. Because think about it. Gears 5 came out in 2019. Gears 6 if you were on the normal schedule, would have been coming out next year. We would have had a trailer for it at this year's E3 because it would have been coming out next year. And people would have been like exasperated, like, another Gears already? At least I would have been. And even I like the franchise a lot. I actually like the story that they're doing, right? But it's going to take a little bit more time. And I'm actually excited to see what they can do with more time personally. So, that's cool for me. Cerebral Pulse says having studios focus specialize on one title can stabilize a series as it goes on. Like 100% true. Gunstar says Xbox needs a kart racer. Minecraft would be ideal, especially with the track creator. They have so much stuff where they can make a kart racer. They could make a fighting game, a Smash Brothers clone. There's a lot of different, a MOBA, an Xbox MOBA that they could do, right? Flame says, Jez, please, pretty please, no more Mayo tweets. Yeah, you need to stop that. I get tagged in I get tagged in every single one of them. Of course I see. It makes me sick. Someone always.
Did you see Hellman's?
Yes.
Hellman's mayonnaise tweeted, "Mayonnaise in your coffee." That's the tweet. Dude, I am gonna try that later. After the podcast, I'm gonna make coffee and I'm gonna try it with mayonnaise instead of milk.
Oh, you're disgusting.
What do you think, man?
You're disgusting. You're absolutely disgusting.
Stefan, I can try it. I'm intrigued.
Stefan says, what do you think about the leaked info about Apple making more money on gaming than Microsoft, Nintendo, Sony, and Activision Blizzard altogether? Kind of puts a lot of stuff in perspective, doesn't it?
It's not a surprise. Like, I know that that's leaked information, but I mean, is it even leaked information? I don't know. Because, like, they have to report that stuff in their investor calls. But it's not a surprise. And I'll tell you why it's not a surprise. It's because there's games like Candy Crush and Farmville and, you know, whatever else on iPad. I think they should consider not reporting casual games in some of these figures when they do their comparisons, because someone who spends $100 a month on Candy Crush, they don't think of themselves as a gamer. They're like your grandma or something. And they're just playing Candy Crush or whatever on their iPad. They don't think of themselves as a gamer. It's like, well, if we count in these figures, shouldn't we just start counting casino figures in gaming too? Is a slot machine or a pachinko machine technically a gaming machine? Is that a video game console, like a pachinko machine? I don't know. It's like you're comparing sort of different markets and different demographics. So when a shareholder's like, oh, why aren't you doing more games like this? It's kind of like, well, that's just not the market we're in, you know? It's a bit weird to me to compare those sections of the market, because a lot of the people who make core games, they make core games because they like core gaming and they got into gaming not because they wanted to make Candy Crush. They got or make money necessarily. They did want to make money, but they wanted to make money making games they like making, like core games that we like. So, you know, I think it's okay. It's fine that Apple makes fat bank on Farmville and Candy Crush or whatever games the boomers play these
What was
days.
that? Was that like a copper going by the house?
Yeah, it was. It was the fuzz going past my house. I live on a main road, right?
Oh,
so
man.
I live on the main road, so if there's police or ambulances, they always use my main road. And I don't live in the nicest area in the UK, so there's a lot of police and there's a lot of ambulances driving around.
That sounded like such a pathetic,
oh my God,
like police siren
or something.
What?
I just heard a really loud bang. Maybe there's like a gang warfare going on around the corner.
Gang warfare in the UK? What is it, Chicago?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I live in the mean streets of like the West Midlands, man. It's pretty rough.
I mean,
there,
I am not surprised that Apple makes more money in game. I'm not surprised at all that Apple makes more money in gaming than any of them.
No, of course.
Like
not.
I mean, it's iOS. They got tons of games on there. People spend money. You know, like phones are owned by way more than the console stuff. Like it's just it's no surprise whatsoever.
It's all about accessibility, and you know we could lead this into one of the topics.
Well,
like
I still got to talk about the games I've been playing, Jez.
Man, we've been podcasting for like an hour.
I know, but that's just how this all goes. We'll get into that.
Oh, man. Okay.
Smoke says,
what have you been playing?
Well, Smoke says,
oh, okay, we got more chats.
Yeah, we do. People want he says thoughts on Microsoft bringing back Kinect for TV. That's actually a topic we'll get to which is you know how much I hate
Hey, what?
Connect. Yeah, you didn't hear about this?
bad?
I know you've been out of the
No.
loop. Yeah.
I'm a bit out of the loop.
Go type in like Sky TV brings back Connect, and you'll get some articles about it. They literally are partnering with Microsoft to basically do exactly what Microsoft wanted to do in 2013. 100%, Jez. It's like literally, yeah. Did you not see this?
No, actually, I'm a bit out of the loop because I've been heads down super
Well,
busy.
as I
Windows
catch up on these
before.
super chats, why don't you read one of those articles to get a sense of what I'm talking about, because it's interesting. Supernova says Gears needs all around renovation, from the weight of the weapons and the animation, the difficulty of the game in general, and I hope it will be more difficult in terms of quality and not quantity. Thank you for all the support. Appreciate everyone who's sending super chats and just hanging out in chat, enjoying the show. We appreciate you. Make sure you hit the like button if you're enjoying the show, and hit that subscribe button if you're new. Sammy74 says, what about Xbox and Microsoft committing to right to repair? See Sony doing that. I have no idea what right to repair is. So
right to repair is like it's a big debate in America right now because it's because of Apple again, really, because Apple is an evil company.
Okay.
They're anti-competitive for one. They wield their market share anti-competitively, blocking xCloud, stuff like that. But not only that, they're consumer hostile. So they don't want you to take your iPad to a third-party repair guy to fix it. They want you to bring it to one of their Apple stores, and they want you to pay a genius to repair it at a premium. They want control of that market. So to facilitate this, Rand, they make their iPhones and their iPads and their MacBooks and all their other junk, and they make them as hard to repair as possible, filling them with glue, filling them with proprietary screws, all things that you can't fix easily. And like if you're a third party repair guy, every gen, Apple makes it harder to repair your stuff. So the EU's looking at making it the law that you don't make them hard to repair. You have to use standard ports, you have to use standard screws, and you have to use standard parts, and blah, 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 blah. And so it's a big debate in America. Like, should America, regulate this? Should they stop companies from doing this? And there's a YouTube channel called iFixit. And what they do is they assess how repairable technology is. Video game consoles are generally pretty repairable. There's a lot of third-party companies that can repair consoles. They're not super difficult to repair, not like an iPad or an iPhone. So for consoles, it's not so much of a big issue. It's more like the tablet sort of stuff. So Surface, for example, Surface devices, Surface tablets, a few generations ago, they got a 0 out of 10 rating from iFixit because they were full of glue. They were really hard to repair because Microsoft was doing the Apple thing. But then Microsoft sort of like, they're trying to be responsible and they're trying to be the nice guy. The new Surfaces are far more repairable. They've stopped using so much glue. They've started using standard screws. You can easily replace the hard drive, stuff like that. So the new Surfaces are way more repairable. And I think they got 5 out of 10 on iFixit this time. So basically, this whole Microsoft committing to the right to repair, that's like, for Xbox, it's not really such a big deal because the controllers are already really repairable. The consoles are quite repairable already, and the Surface devices are already becoming more repairable because Microsoft supports that. But they also support that because it undermines their competition. It undermines Apple, who hate the right to repair. But it also goes beyond tablets, Rand. There's this whole I'm going way off topic now, but it actually started with tractors in America. Tractors, like do you call them tractors? Like tractors, the big,
yes,
in the farms, right? So like if you play Farming Simulator but IRL, play IRL Farming Simulator, the tractors are really hard to repair. Like you have to go to like the companies that make the tractors to get them repaired, and they charge a premium to repair that shit. So like the whole right to repair thing, it actually started with farming equipment because they're very specialized equipment, and the people who manufacture that equipment, they're assholes, and they don't want the farmers to repair their own stuff. They want to charge the farmers money to repair that stuff. Apple does the same shit. Sony, Microsoft, not so much. So I'm passionate about this topic, Rand. I'm passionate about.
I can hear it in your voice. Yes.
I'm passionate about the rights of the individual common man to repair their stuff, man. If you buy a tractor, you should have the right to repair that shit, man. If you buy an iPad, you should have the right to repair that stuff without Apple filling it with glue and other crap to stop you repairing it. Vote Jez 2024 for president. Vote Jez for president of the United States of America.
Yeah, well,
I will make this country great.
You got my vote. You definitely got my vote. Austin, he says, Austin is still salty about the Knights of the Republic Times exclusivity. Make Fallen Order 2 Microsoft Time exclusive. Yeah, I don't really see Jedi Fallen Order 2 being a Microsoft Time exclusive whatsoever. That's published by EA. That's not going to happen. I mean, it sucks, for you. I know you like Knights of the Republic. I mean, I know a lot of people are pissed off that Sony has timed exclusivity, but that's just the business aspect of a lot of this stuff, And I know Microsoft was also trying to get it timed exclusive, but they were either outbid or didn't decide to, care enough, I guess. I don't know, but yeah. DS Omen says, Jez, with Windows 11 being less stringent on how applications are packed, do you think we'll stop seeing worse Windows Store versions compared to Steam?
It's interesting, the whole debate about Steam versus the Windows Store, because, Microsoft lifted a lot of the restrictions on the Windows Store when it comes to like packaging. Like you can package a game as Win32 now, just like Steam, which should make it a lot more Steam-like, but it could be months before we see any real change there. But Microsoft they're supporting Steam heavily with Win32 versions, so it's sort of like UWP's dead, containers are dead. It's just going to take time to unravel all that crap.
Yeah. Brett says, I would like to see a Halo spinoff that follows other prolific characters in different parts of the Halo universe, like the Arbiter and the Shanghai Civil War. I know a lot of people would like to see a spinoff with Locke and the Osiris team doing whatever they're doing, because Locke was a important character in Halo 5, but people didn't really care for him because he kind of sidelined the Chief. But you can always make like another game with him as the main character. I just want more Halo games, really. But the fact that Halo Infinite looks like it's going to be a banger definitely is makes me smile. Flame says, Jez definitely has a better chance of being a respectable president as opposed to the last candidates we've gotten these last 16 years. Yeah,
I would be a great president. Not gonna lie,
Jack.
I'd make sure every household had a console of their choice. We have the right to choose in America as per the Constitution. I believe George Washington himself said, "No matter what console you want, it's your choice." That's in the Constitution, right, man?
Yeah, that is. Jez, Brett says, Jez, I junk with the laughing emoji. And Jack says, the Xbox 2 is the best podcast. Well, thank you very much. I lost my dog, Charlie, yesterday, and you guys are helping me through this hard time in my life. Thank you, Rand Jez. I am so sorry for your loss, buddy. Dogs are so incredibly, important. They're just family, just like anybody else. I remember when we had to put down Barnaby, who we got as a puppy, and we had him 9 years, and it was a great 9 years. He was an amazing dog, and he basically got cancer, and towards the end he could barely walk, and his fur was falling off, and he was bleeding. And I remember when we went to put him, we basically had to put him down. I remember just being so emotional and crying, and I still think about him all the time. We rescued Shakespeare because we didn't, because we there was a void left in our hearts for Barnaby, but we didn't want a new puppy because we felt like we maybe be disrespecting his legacy, so we wanted to save a dog. We wanted to save a dog that had been abused, which is why we rescued him. So thank you for sharing that, Jack. Hopefully you'll get through this, man. I know it sucks. My condolences to you. Dogs are amazing. I can see your little picture there of your dog. At the fact that, and I get this message a lot, Jez. I don't know if you do, but a lot of people message me and saying you helped us get through a rough part of my life, and that is some of the most humbling and greatest messages I ever received, because I have And you know this, and I think a lot of people listening to this too, like, I don't really have the greatest opinion of myself sometimes. You know, I got low self-esteem and I have all these other problems, but, you know, and I know sometimes you got to grab on to something to help you get through things. And if, you know, people use us and the podcast or my videos and things like that, if I can help you overcome like a dark moment, then that, like, I don't even know what to say, honestly, you know? It's truly
Yeah,
like
man.
humbling that people
It
think
is.
of it that way. But I'm sorry for your loss, man.
Like used to rescue dogs as well. My last dog died when I was about 15, 20 years ago. I got like a picture of Barney up here, named after the American dinosaur, Barney the dinosaur, because my little brother was obsessed with Barney the dinosaur. So we got a rescue dog and called him Barney. And it sucks that they don't live long.
Yeah, I know, right? Well,
That's why I haven't had a dog since, because it was just painful. But
my
I'll
sister
probably get another dog when I get my own place.
my sister had a dog, Casey, who lived for like 14 years, but it was one of those mixed terriers, small dogs. Small dogs live longer than the big dogs, but yeah, it's
I didn't know.
yeah, it 14 years, but by the end, even Casey, she wasn't in a good spot. JC says, "Will Game Pass be on the Steam Deck?" I mean, at least in some form,
Yeah,
yes, because Phil's kind of tweeted about that. So yeah,
You can uninstall Steam OS and install Windows on the Steam Deck. It might hit your performance a little bit, but only a little bit. So you can actually just run full Windows on it, and then you can run anything you want. So like Game Pass is already confirmed to be working on it. Will they have like a Game Pass app for the Steam OS? I mean, maybe they're gonna do it through the browser. I'm sure like Phil's working with them. Valve software is down the road from Microsoft headquarters. And I know those companies talk a lot, obviously, because they depend on each other a little bit. Like Steam kind of depends on Windows, and Windows kind of depends on Steam, you know, for the gaming stuff. So they are collaborating a lot. But yeah, you'll be able to use Game Pass on Steam in some way,
yes.
even if it's not like an app natively.
BC says, "I watched Midnight Mass, Rand. I love you, but you owe me 7 hours of my life back." And then he says something that's a spoiler, so I won't read that. But he calls it Midnight Ass. Everybody has their own opinions, man. I love Midnight Mass, and my friends that watched it loved it as well. I know there's definitely people that don't, and it sounds like you were one of them. I'm sorry you didn't like it, man. And it looks like I owe you 7 hours of your life back. So my apologies. Hey, but Jez, you see Squid Game and how popular it's been coming, like on social media,
man,
everywhere. Everybody's tweeting about it. Xbox is doing memes about it. It's crazy.
I've seen the first few episodes of Squid Game. Like, I absolutely love it. Like, I don't watch a lot of TV because I have like I swear my boss has said to me, you should get tested for attention deficit disorder, because I have like no attention span. I forget what I've been talking about literally seconds into the conversation sometimes. But I usually can't watch TV because I just get bored. Like, I try watching Game of Thrones, it's like, oh my god, this is so bloody long. But I love the way Squid Game is shot, because every few seconds there's like something new or a new character, or there's like a complete change of scenery, and it's like it keeps me engaged, you know. So my child brain really quite likes the way it's shot. I've been really loving Squid Game, and like it seems to appeal to everyone for different reasons. Like my aunt's watching it as well, and like it's become really big. My kid, I don't have a kid. My friend's kid's school, like all like the little teenagers and stuff running around pretending that they're in Squid Game and asking their parents to get them like honeycomb biscuits or whatever they are, stuff like this. So it's awesome, man. It's phenomenal. No spoilers in chat or I ban your ass. But
Jez, did you just see the tweet we just got tagged in from Razor? Where he goes, at Jez Coordinate Rand, quote, "Everyone deserves the right to repair, dash Jez Phil McCorden, vote Jez 20XX," with a picture of you. Did you see that?
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Wow, I look really thin in that picture. I like it.
Yeah. Trey Duke says, any update on the Scalebound revival? Not happening, man. Scalebound's dead. Just accept it. It's okay. It's maybe in a parallel universe it came out, but not in the one we're living in. It's never coming back. So sorry to be the bearer of bad news. We get that question a lot too. Supernova also asks us, Jez, ask Phil Spencer why he hasn't released a remastered version or work on a sequel for Masterpiece Lost Odyssey For me, the game very much is better than Final Fantasy 12. Any idea, Jez? No remasters of Lost Odyssey? Well, I mean, like, it's in back and and it's probably one of those things where it's like...
I actually poked someone at Xbox recently. I was like, why isn't Lost Odyssey on xCloud? Because I was thinking that'd be a perfect game for xCloud. I'm like, actually, not sure. So I think like Microsoft they're kind of bogged down with how they're I just think they've got too much on to think about some of these older games right now. Like that, seriously, I know a huge chunk of Microsoft's games roadmap now. There are dozens of games on the horizon. Dozens. So I don't think some of the older games like Lost Odyssey, I just don't think they're in their field of view right now. Which is a shame because, like, you know, I think Lost Odyssey would be a perfect game for a remaster, for an upgrade, to maybe see if it sort of can carry a different audience now in the modern era. Maybe they can find a new audience on xCloud because it's turn-based and stuff like that. I just don't think it's in their field of view. Like, I'd love for that to be the case, but alas, there's a lot of stuff in the pipeline, like I say.
Yeah. We have BCL saying, haha, all is forgiven, Rand. Squid Game was rad. Thanks for the content, fellas. Love from down under. Cloud finally enabled here and has been incredible. Well, at least you liked one show, so. And we got other people saying Midnight Mass is terrible. Well, not everybody likes everything, unfortunately. So,
like, I've heard mixed things about that. Like, people here saying it's bad, but a lot of my friends really liked it. So, I don't know. I'm probably going to watch it for Halloween, I think.
Yeah. So, I've been playing a game that I cannot talk about or even mention yet.
Oh?
Yes.
Interesting.
So, you'll be able to hear about it soon, but I can't even tell you the name of the game. Not even allowed to. So, we'll talk about that soon. I've also, as the video is showing, started playing Back 4 Blood, got the Ultimate Edition, and played it for about 4 hours, made it almost to the end of Act 1, and I'm a little mixed here, Jez. Like, the game's fun enough, especially with friends, and it does have that Left 4 Dead feel to it. It's just, I don't think it's as good as Left 4 Dead. And I do like the weapon attachments and getting different guns that are a little bit better and all that stuff. Like, I like that. And even though I do feel the console controls aren't the best, like the auto aim is like really, really strong. The problem that we've been having, at least in my group, was we played the game for 4 hours last night and we must have crashed 7 or 8 times. Not only like during levels, but like in accepting invites. Like, I would accept an invite and my game would crash. Now, granted, that's not like the biggest problem because, you know, the Xbox has an SSD, so you can get right back into it and it doesn't crash. You know, when a game used to crash on the Xbox 360, it would basically turn the system off and you have to turn it back on. But there were so many times where like 2 of us were in the safe room and 2 people were coming to the safe room, somebody would crash. And then, okay, you'd have to wait for the person to come back, and then somebody else would crash, and then basically everybody would crash. And the game's set up in a way where, like, it was weird because you'd have progress, but then I would have progress for the level we're on, but then my buddy Maka wouldn't have progress for that level. So if he would be wanting to go play solo, he wouldn't be able to play any of the levels that we had played through, right? So it was just this constant thing of like, hopefully we can get through this level before somebody crashes. And even though like when the person crashes and comes back, like there's an option to rejoin, we weren't ever able to rejoin a game. Like the person could never rejoin, and then somebody else would just crash anyways.
That sounds like a total mess, man.
It does. And to make matters worse, if you're playing the game solo, it gates off all. So if you're playing the game solo, you can't earn supply points to buy new cards, because the whole thing about this game is you play through, you earn supply points, you buy new cards, and then at the start of every level you kind of play a new card so you can get maybe like 20% more stamina, etc., etc., etc. the more you play, the more points you earn, the more cards you buy, and then you basically build your deck, right? And that's the other thing. Like you're playing and you're playing in a row, so you're earning things, playing your cards, like having your weapons the way you want them and stuff, and then you'll drop out and you'll lose everything. So like you lose the cards that you've been playing or the deck that you had and how it was set up or the weapons and the attachments that you were working with. And sometimes when you start it back up, it'll be just where if it started back up with the same host, it'll work fine and everybody will have the same stuff. But for whatever reason, if you can't, which was a problem that we had, then you basically starting over from scratch on that level. So you rejoin that level, but you don't have the weapons and you don't have the cards, which is a little weird. But then if you play solo, you can earn achievements at all, period, because they don't progress your accomplishments. And there's like 150 accomplishments in the game, and 50 of them are achievements. So you can't unlock achievements while playing the game solo, Jez. And you can't earn supply points to purchase new cards. So playing solo is basically, like, there's no reason to play solo. Because you can't make any progress towards achievements or any, like, it's weird. And I don't understand why they did that. Can you understand why they did that? Because I certainly can't.
I think it almost sounds like this is a game. It's like paid early access. I feel like they'll probably go over some of these things and take feedback and be like, oh yeah, we'll change that, blah 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 blah. It's someone in chat said, Flash Gordon says, play on 1440p mode and you won't crash. Like it sounds like there's like a lot of issues and stuff. I mean, you just gotta send them your feedback, I guess. I have not played it myself, so I can't really comment at the moment. But I did kind of suspect that this isn't the original team that made Left 4 Dead. They're just kind of using the Left 4 Dead brand for marketing purposes. So I was not expecting it to be as good as Left 4 Dead, but oh well. It is what it is, man.
I mean, outside of any of the issues, like if the game didn't have any issues, it is still fun to play. There are some moments of like that pure adrenaline, that pure terror where you're running to get to the next safe room or the next objective and you barely have any health, right? And you're all running and the horde is chasing after you. You're turning around shooting, right? And then somebody goes down and everybody rushes back to get them and you get them up, but then the horde keeps on coming. Like there are some moments in, Back 4 Blood that are fantastic like that, where it really gets the adrenaline pumping and you're running to try to save somebody. But I find that it's there was only in the at least 4 hours that I've played, it didn't happen that much. There was only like a few times. So yeah, it's interesting. So maybe there's another like patch coming out soon. I just know a lot of the crashes took away some of the enjoyment from playing it, but it definitely seems like if Left 4 Dead is your type of game, then like you probably will enjoy this. There's just some design decisions that they made with the solo campaign, and I guess if you play it and you don't experience any crashes, you won't have any of this problem. But like I can only talk about what I did, and then I also because this is like the first week I've been playing games since I've been reading my book, right? Which I'm on book 11 of Wheel of Time, by the way. But I put about 8 hours into Far Cry 6. I don't know if you've seen the reviews for it, Jez, but
I reviewed it myself.
Oh yeah, so what did you think about Far Cry?
I'm just like, man, I'm gonna be completely frank and honest. Reviewing Far Cry 6 made me wanna, stop reviewing games.
Jesus.
I hated it. But the thing is, I was playing it, I was thinking, there's nothing fundamentally wrong with this game. It's just that I am absolutely sick to death of Ubisoft's formula. Ghost Recon Wildlands, Ghost Recon Breakpoint, Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, they've all got the same elements. Open world, icon clearing, stealth optional. they all just sort of blend together. Softball writing, no real risk taking in design, no physics really on a lot of the stuff. I'm just sick of Ubisoft's games. I am utterly sick of them. I can't express to Rand how sick I am of Ubisoft's format. So I reviewed it in two minds. I reviewed it in Jez's mind. Jez's mind was like, I'm sick of this type of game. And Ubisoft, I'm sick of the lack of innovation coming out of Ubisoft. But I also reviewed it from the mindset of someone who's never played Far Cry before. If you've never played Far Cry before, and you don't play every single Ubisoft game, and you haven't played like the last 1 million Ubisoft games, there's a lot to love about the game. There's nothing wrong with it fundamentally. The performance is great, the gunplay is fine, all that kind of stuff. The story's serviceable at least. There's like a decent variety of missions and whatnot. It's just that I've played the game 1 million times before. I've played it 1 million times before. It just feels like this game came off an assembly line of people who don't have any passion or they don't care about trying something new. And I know that's wrong because I know a lot of love went into this game. It's obvious. It's super detailed. Like, obviously a lot of work went into that game. There's tons of dialogue. They obviously did research and stuff like that, which includes a lot of travel and hard work. But there's something fundamentally exhausting about Ubisoft's approach to game design that lacks any sort of, newness or intrigue, or it's hard to even put my finger on it. It just feels like there's just no creativity left at Ubisoft. And I know it's been the COVID era. I know they've gutted their management structure because they had like a huge abuse scandal. And I know they've had a lot of like upheaval at the Ubisoft in the recent years. So I just felt so fatigued while playing it. But at the same time, I was thinking, like, if you're a fan of Far Cry and you don't care and you're not fatigued, sure, you're going to love it. Like, there's nothing wrong with it, technically. It's just, man, I would be happy to not play another Ubisoft game for the next 5 years or so. Like, every single Ubisoft game is just devoid of creativity. And the worst thing is, Rand, they brought some of the annoying shit from Assassin's Creed into Far Cry. Because now we have weapons that have levels. And we have enemies that have levels. We have enemies that are bullet sponges. And I thought, shit, I thought I'd left this behind in The Division. And now I've got bullet sponge enemies in Far Cry. It's just, so exhausted with Ubisoft games. I literally wanted to cry reviewing this game. So yeah, wasn't the biggest fan.
Yeah, I can tell. And I think the chat can tell that you didn't really care for it.
But I identify, unlike some reviewers, I identified that me not enjoying it is a me problem. I think a lot of reviewers forget that they have the privilege of access to all these games. I got access to Assassin's Creed. I got access to Watch Dogs Legion. I got access to Far Cry 5. And for me, I had to play all these games for work. So I'm acutely aware that game reviewers are probably going to feel more fatigued about the game than a regular person who may not have played all of these games in the short amount of time. And I think a lot of reviewers forget this. A lot of reviewers forget that they have access to these games, and maybe that's why they feel fatigued. So I reviewed it with two mindsets. I was like, if you are someone hardcore like Rand, who buys all the games and they play all the Ubisoft games, you might feel a twinge of repetitiveness out of this game because it feels like every other bloody Ubisoft game of the last 1 million years. However, if you are relatively new and you haven't played that much Ubisoft stuff recently, then great. You may well enjoy it because there's nothing fundamentally broken with it. So that was my feeling about Far Cry 6. Well, I could be saying Far Cry 5. They're basically the same game. So,
well.
Exhausted, man. Exhausted with their whole format. Their whole formula, everything about it needs to be uprooted. Ubisoft has become creatively, they've hit a creative cul-de-sac and I see them shitting out battle royale games left, right, and center. Like in like you can almost smell the sweaty desperation when they announced Ghost Recon Battle Royale, Division Battle Royale. It's so desperate and so transparent. What are they doing, man? What are they doing? It's an issue, man. It's an issue.
You don't really like Ubisoft. That's definitely apparent.
I used to love them, man. I love like Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, like the whole Brotherhood trilogy. Are some of my favorite games ever. You know, but I was playing Far Cry 6, right? And I noticed that they brought the Brotherhood mechanics where you send like soldiers out on missions. Literally brought that into Far Cry 6. Why? Didn't fucking need this shit. Why would you do this? It doesn't make any sense. It's like, this is a shooter. Why are you giving me like the whole Assassin's Creed Brotherhood mission from like a million years ago? It's because they've run out of ideas, man. They've run out of ideas. And they're just sort of rolling all of their games together like this amorphous blob of creative redundancy. And it's you know, oh God. I'm exhausted even talking about it, man. But yeah, I want to. It's so weird because there's nothing fundamentally wrong with their games. They're very polished. They're always very pretty. But there's just something that makes me exhausted, man.
So before I tell you my thoughts, I gotta give a shout out to Flash Gordon, newest member of the channel. Really appreciate it. So even though I had issues with Back 4 Blood, I do think it's a solid game. I think there's fun to be had. It just has some tech issues and there's some problems with the solo stuff. I think it's probably a fun game to play one time through. And even on Recruit, it can be difficult at times, right? With Far Cry, I agree with a lot of what you say. I am a huge Far Cry fan, right? Love 3, enjoyed 4, even though I didn't think it was as good as 3. I adored Far Cry 5, and we get to 6. I was really looking forward to playing it. Giancarlo Esposito, which I know I probably said his name wrong, from Breaking Bad. He's an incredible actor, and when he's doing his thing in the game, you're transfixed because he's really good, right?
He's the best part of the game by a mile.
Yeah,
like I said, everything I just moaned about Ubisoft right now. At least they know how to, cast the villain, shall we say?
Yes,
he's a great villain. He's the best part of the game.
He's a great villain. So
his scenes are a few hours in between.
Jez is right in the sense
not
that
enough to carry the game for me.
Jez is right in the sense that he's like, if you are tired of the Far Cry formula, this will maybe push you over the edge. If you don't like Far Cry, this one isn't going to change your mind. I like this game. I don't love this game. I think Far Cry 5 is better. But like the sandbox that Ubisoft gives you with Far Cry and the things that you can do is just so overwhelmingly fun. Like I love going into an outpost and silently taking them out, or just going in there and just hitting my Supremo, or having my pet crocodile go in there and kill everybody. Like I like the freedom of choice it gives you in how you approach anything you want to do in the game, right? The guns are all great. The island where you're at, Yara, which is supposed to be a stand-in for, like, I think Cuba, like, the game looks great. It runs fantastic at 60 frames. That's how I always wanted a Far Cry game to run. But there are some things that I don't particularly like. One, the overarching story so far, personally, I'm not a fan of evil dictator versus the guerrilla insurgents, where I have to take and overthrow the dictator, because I feel like I've done that story in many other games already, and so far it kind of feels like a retread. So I'm like, I'm not really feeling the story aspect of it. Whereas in like Far Cry 5, say what you will, but like I was transfixed by the religious cult stuff, because you didn't really have many games that focus on that aspect of, cult, right? I loved trying to hearing what Joseph Seed have to say, or any of the other main characters, right? Yeah. This one, even though, he's really good, I can't even say his name, but the main villain in the game is really good. You don't really see him that much. And I'm just over, I'm a gorilla and I'm gonna take down this country. Like, so the story isn't at least, lighting my pants on fire at this point. And I don't like, one of the other things I don't like, and this is typical Ubisoft design, is in previous Far Cry games, you leveled up in Far Cry 3 and with each level up you got points to spend to buy more perks. So it felt like you were getting stronger, right? The beginning you barely could take out an outpost stealthy, but then the more you played, the more you did, you became stronger, and you had all these different perks where you could chain kill a bunch of enemies and do a whole bunch of different stuff. And then in Far Cry 5, they changed it to where, like, okay, you need to complete challenges, but even still you complete the challenges, you get these perks, you become even stronger and better. Far Cry 6, for whatever reason, they moved the perk system to loot. So all the perks are on the loot, and all the loot is scattered in crates across the world, or that you can buy essentially from where you can buy from like outposts and stuff. So I really dislike the fact that the perk system is basically been tied to the loot, and you're supposed to go around the world in more checklist sort of things. Like, I feel like I'm going to be missing out on some cool perks because I didn't find it in the open world or I didn't buy it. So I don't really like that aspect. The co-op, once again, is poorly implemented, right? If I joined your game, Jez, and we did some things, completed some story stuff, knocked over some military installations, it only saves for you. If I went back to my world, it would be like it wasn't finished. It wasn't done. I don't know why that they haven't changed that. It's been the same since like Far Cry 4. There's like no reason to play co-op because the person joining gets no progress whatsoever. I think that is horribly implemented. I do like the new Supremo system. Like, that's one of the big new things about this one is you get this like big backpack called the Supremo, and there's many different Supremos. Like, you lock on rockets for one, or like a stealth one, or one that like lets you like jump high in the air, and you can kind of equip those at any point in time. Those are really cool and interesting. So the gameplay is as good as it's ever been, maybe even better. A lot of different guns, a lot of different attachments that you can use where you scavenge stuff all over the map. A lot of cool individual weapons that you can find that have a lot of cool perks on it. Like, so I love running and gunning in the game. I just love the gameplay systems. I love having fun and doing whatever I want. There's just some subtle changes that they made that I'm not a fan of. Like, I like the whole loot stuff is just typical Ubisoft, and I'm not really a fan of, at least where I'm at right now, right? I'm like 7 hours into the game, which is still a lot of time, but I'm not really that enamored with the story at this point. Now, we'll probably talk a little bit more about like my full thoughts when I finish it, but these are just my initial ones. So if you're a fan of Far Cry, absolutely get the game because you're going to like it, you know? If you're kind of teetering on like the edge of like, I don't know, I'm kind of bored of this stuff, then don't get it, because it's just going to, you're just asking to get burnt out on it. And if you've never played a Far Cry game, or if you don't like Far Cry, this isn't going to change your opinion. So, yeah, but it looks good. It plays good. It's just, there's some decisions that I just don't really like. I wish they would just go back on, but yeah. Anyways, so it's interesting, like not playing anything for a couple weeks and then getting back in and playing Back 4 Blood and Far Cry 6 and then this other game I'm playing. It's kind of even though like, maybe you say I'm a little bit negative towards Back 4 Blood, I still enjoyed playing it with my friends, but like it reinvigorated like my love of gaming again. Like, I was like, I'm reading Wheel of Time, but like, I don't want to get on a game. And then you get on a game with your friends and you're playing some Far Cry, and it's just like, yeah, I love this stuff. So even though I understand that you hate Ubisoft and you hate how all their games are the same, I still have a blast playing Far Cry. It's my guilty pleasure, Jez. It's my guilty pleasure. I just love causing chaos on the island. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I mean, I get it. Like a lot of people said, it's just popcorn gaming for me, and I get that. It's different people play games for different things, and it's like when I have like when I have some free time and I want to play a game, it's like I want something a bit more. I want to feel a bit more involved. And when I was playing Far Cry 6, I just felt like I was you said it. You said it best. A checklist. I felt like I was running through a checklist. I was like, oh, okay, I can't fly until I take out this stupid, this anti-aircraft gun. So I've got to drive there. Great. And then I get there, and I just one shot the whole base using the Supremo Ultimate whatever. And it just feels like they've made me do this. They've forced me to do this just in order to make another part of the game easier. But I didn't care about making it easier in the first place because the story was not interesting either. I just felt like I was running through a checklist of arbitrary crap, and I've done it so many times in Ubisoft games. I'm just so over it now. And I was hoping like Far Cry 6 would have some unique hook to sort of make me, more interested in the game. But it's also that their approach to narrative design is just so lame. It's so softball. It's like teenager writes politics but doesn't want to offend his parents writing. It's like, oh yeah, these guys are bad, and like here's some scary imagery to explain why. But then in the next scene you're doing wacky stuff with a crocodile, and which is fine. It's great. But wacky stuff with a crocodile is brilliant. But it's tonal whiplash when you're trying to make me care about these people that are being experimented on, and then you're giving me a crocodile with a football jersey in the next breath. It's like, what do you want? How do you want me to feel? Do you want me to feel sad, or do you want me to feel humor? Do you want me to feel happy? Choose one, Ubisoft. Are you making a dark game, or are you making a fun game? Are you making me a Doom game where I do crazy shit and blow stuff up and it's all fun and it's not too serious? Or do you want to depress me and show me a dark side of humanity which genuinely exists in the world? And I almost feel like it's exploitative and disrespectful to people who really are living in these conditions if you're going to softball it like that. You're going to softball it, Ubisoft. If you don't have the balls to really say your games are political, don't make your games political, Ubisoft. Have some balls about it. And they're just so pathetic at writing. They are terrible at writing. They don't know what they want to do. And I think it's a case of too many chefs spoil the broth, or whatever the saying is. There's too many people pulling the game in too many different directions. There's too many departments that aren't talking to each other. They're we want the gameplay to feel like this, but we want the writing to be like this. And those teams are not talking with each other. Whereas in a Naughty Dog game, for example, there's a sense of cohesion. There's a sense of leadership, and that all the studios pulling in the same direction. Ubisoft is not like that. All their departments are pulling in different directions, and whatever, man. I'm done with this shit, buddy.
Yeah. We have a couple super chats I want to get to. Supernova, thank you. He says, is Avowed bigger in terms of places and story than Skyrim, and is the gameplay system enjoyable, especially Magicaster? I don't know if you can answer any of that, or if you want to answer any of that yet. Because somebody's probably listening when I write an article about this, and you should probably not answer this and wait to write your own article about it.
Yeah, Supernova, I will say, look out on Windows Central in the next couple of weeks for your answer to that question. I can't answer it right now, but I do know things about Avowed, and I'm very excited for Avowed right now.
Yes.
Put it that way.
Alvin says, Jez is right, never played a Far Cry before, and only Assassin's Creed I played is Black Flag. Loving Far Cry 6 like crazy. Ignorance is bliss.
Exactly. No, seriously, if it's your first Far Cry game, it's great. It's just that the last 6 or 7 games from Ubisoft have been like this. I felt like I was playing Ghost Recon Wildlands again. And when I was playing Ghost Recon Wildlands, I felt like I was playing Watch Dogs again. It's all the games sort of roll together. So whatever, man. Whatever.
Cerebral Paul says, okay, handicapping solo is extremely accessibility unfriendly. Obviously for Back for Blood. I mean, you can still play it. It's just that you don't really progress in it. You can play through the levels and they won't stop you from doing that, but you won't earn achievements and you won't earn any currency to buy any more cards. So, what is the point, right? Shout out to Gaming Forte in the chat. I see you, sir. Alexander says, Jez, how many of those dozens of games on the Xbox roadmap have been revealed? I need an estimated percentage.
I would say about, out of the ones I know, And I swear, there's games that I don't know about because I don't know anything that Bethesda's working on. Generally, I don't know about the Kojima game Jeff Grubb spoke about, and I've also heard about some other games that aren't in the roadmap that I've seen. So, as a complete ballpark estimate, and this is a conservative, this is a low estimate. I'd say about a third of the games have been announced from Xbox Game Studios right now.
Third, interesting.
About a third.
Can't wait for that to be an article on some website in a couple hours from now. Because you know what's going to happen. And the headline's going to be, Jez Corden says on his podcast with co-host that we don't even know who it is, that Xbox's unannounced games are like a third of their announced games, or some ridiculous clickbait title that they're gonna write and they're gonna share, and everybody on Twitter is gonna share it, and yeah, it's just gonna be. I can already see it snowballing right here, Jez. We already see it, even though you didn't basically say anything, and it's just like a 2-sentence quote. People are gonna write an article about it. I'm looking.
Well, it's not even like it's not even that big of a deal. Like, of course they're working on loads of games.
Yeah, I know,
but
right?
A lot of these games might get cancelled and stuff like that, but I don't think they will, because the information that I got is it sounds to me more like, yeah, these are happening sort of thing. So who knows, man? I'm just so excited for the future right now. So excited.
Yeah, let's see what else we got here. Chanaka says, any thoughts on Behavior Interactive? They seem to have a strong relationship with Xbox and are apparently making a game for them. Did you see that rumor, Jez?
Yeah, I did. Behavior Interactive. They've worked with Microsoft before as a support studio. I think didn't they work on Hivebusters, or am I imagining?
Yes, they did.
So they've worked with Microsoft before. Maybe they've done a pitch, and maybe one of the code names that I haven't been able to track down yet. Maybe they're working on a game on that code name. I have no idea. I haven't seen Behavior Interactive tagged to a code name yet. So, I don't know personally, but I wouldn't be surprised, because Microsoft's looking for diversity in their portfolio right now. And if studios come to them with the right pitch, they'll greenlight the game and fund it. I've seen some studios that were very small and have only worked in a support capacity previously that are now making full-blown games for Microsoft. So, yeah, I think it's totally possible Behavior Interactive is working on some kind of exclusive. I just think, take into account they're not the biggest studio, and, set your expectations accordingly. But yeah, there's a ton of stuff, man. There's a ton of stuff in the pipeline for everyone and every genre, that, almost every genre. I don't know if Microsoft's going to make a sports game, but its future's bright and exciting, Rand. It's very bright.
Yeah, I had to mute myself because my dog is absolutely going crazy upstairs right now.
My dog. Why? What's over there?
I don't know. Somebody must be outside the house, and he just doesn't like that. You know what I mean? Trey Duke says, starting to think this is a Scalebound Hate and Slander podcast. Sorry, man. And Hood, he says, I would take a black remaster. So talking about some of the OG Xbox game, black remaster was pretty cool, or black was pretty cool. You hear my dog? He's going nuts.
Yeah, what's up with him, man?
Well, there's got to be like a dog outside right now, and he
wants some mayonnaise.
Yeah, it's
like
annoying.
mayo.
It's annoying because everybody can hear him, and like the only way I can stop it is by basically just like muting my mic, and who knows how long? Because sometimes he'll just bark forever. So
oh god,
I apologize.
Could,
it's pretty annoying.
You need to get those soundproofing panels up on the walls. I was looking at those. Have you seen them? Like the pro streamers have like those soundproofing things they stick to the walls that like have little triangles on them or whatever, or pyramids. I don't know. We need more pictures and videos of Shakespeare, man.
Yeah. I don't really take a lot of pictures or videos, unfortunately.
He doesn't sound too loud on my end. I don't know, like, if he's coming through louder in the chat. What do people think of Shakespeare? Is Shakespeare too loud? Let's hear from the people. I didn't sound too loud for me. Just sounded pretty quiet.
I mean, I can hear he's like running the length of the house right now, so there must be something outside.
Oh man.
Anyways, yeah, let's move on to some of the other things we want to talk about in the show. And if you guys are enjoying it, make sure you hit the like button, share this out, and subscribe if you're new. Yeah, Jez, let's talk about the Xbox 20th anniversary announcement, shall we? Things that they've announced recently, and maybe we can enter some speculation town right after we're done. So they teased something on Twitter the other day. I think it was on Wednesday. I want to say they had a silhouette of a controller, and everybody was wondering what it was. And even a lot of Xbox employees were hyping this up with the eye emojis. Everybody knew it was going to be some sort of controller, right? The 20th anniversary is coming. We knew they were going to do something for it. It looked like an Elite to me. It had the indentations on the grips that the Elite Series 2 had. So I thought, oh, they're going to be selling an Elite Series 2 20th anniversary controller. But that's not the case. It's a regular controller. It basically is like smoky black is the color. It's see-through. It has the OG Xbox green on the grips, as well as like in the Nexus button, the Xbox button in the controller, like the little Xbox button at the very top. And it also unlocks a dynamic theme when you kind of pair it with your console. You'll get a dynamic theme. So what do you think about that, Jez? What do you think about the fact that it's a regular controller instead of Elite, and the whole dynamic thing being unlockable? I think that's a cool little touch, personally.
Yeah, it looks really cool. I love my favorite Xbox controller theme of all time is that Phantom White. I think they called it, or was it Phantom Black? I can't remember. But it was transparent and then faded out to grey, sort of. It looked like it was like a ghost sort of motif. I love transparent tech. I don't know if it's like a early 2000s thing, but there was a whole kind of trend where like you had there was a transparent N64 and there was transparent this and transparent that, and there was a transparent Xbox One as original Xbox rather. I do like it. I liked the transparent tech stuff. I think it looks like a really cool controller, but yeah, it's not an Elite like some people thought. Can you argue that's like a low ball kind of anniversary thing? Are they working on a new Elite? I mean, it'd be kind of weird if they did an Elite 2 now and then release an Elite 3 next year or something. I don't know.
It could be one of those things where they're just like, the Elites are expensive and they wanted a lot of people to be able to purchase this, right? $70 is obviously a lot cheaper than $150. And maybe people would accuse Microsoft of money grabbing on the 20th anniversary if they did an Elite Series 2 instead of just a regular controller. Right. I don't really care for the translucent stuff. I'm just not a fan of translucent in any of their controllers. I do like the addition of the dynamic theme. I think that's cool. I think Microsoft can do more with dynamic themes. Like, I want to see dynamic themes for every game. I want to see companies make their own dynamic themes. I want to see Microsoft open the ability for community members like Sean Labrie, who's in the chat, to make a cool dynamic theme and maybe sell it on the marketplace or something. You know what I mean?
They should open it up to developers, like let or artists, let people just make their own themes. I think that'd be cool.
Yeah,
you can make your own sticker packs on Telegram or whatever. I think that'd be cool. But
then they also had the 20th anniversary headset, which is the stereo headset that just released a couple weeks ago or a month ago, and it's also translucent, so that's a little celebration thing for that. They also are partnering with Adidas. I saw Paris get some shoes. I saw a couple other people get Adidas shoes that are in the color of the OG Xbox. Although I believe... What?
Hang on. What did you say?
Adidas?
Adidas. It's Adidas.
It's Adidas.
Adidas?
It's Adidas.
It's Adidas, man.
Hey, man, I say it. I don't know who says it right. It's Adidas. To me, I say it's Adidas. Like, is that not how you say it? I don't know. Are you guys gonna make fun of me because I'm saying it wrong?
Oh my god, this is
Adidas.
This is another American thing, like how you guys say Nike shoes. Like, even though like you say bike, you don't say bikey, do you? It's Nike and it's Adidas.
It's Nike.
I need to know, people in chat, is it Adidas with an E or Adidas with an E? Come on, let's hear it in chat. But anyway, got off topic there. Did you like the shoes, Rand? Did you like the Adidas shoes that they announced?
I mean, maybe I say it wrong, but that's just so I'm wrong on this one. It's Adidas, I guess. I don't know. I say it Adidas.
Adidas.
See, now people are saying I'm right. So I guess some people say Jez is right, and I guess some people say I'm right.
Are you going to buy the shoes, Rand?
No.
Well,
no, they're not. That's the thing. You can't buy them. Although they did say they'll have more collaborations. See, now we got other people saying Jez is right. So I guess it's 50-50 on this.
Oh my god. It's another American destruction of my language, I guess.
Our language. After we beat you in the war, it became our language.
Let's not get into this again, Rand. Let's not get into this again.
So yeah, this shoe isn't going to be for sale, but they did say that they will have other collaborations of shoes for sale for the first time to people in like later in the year. So let's see that. And this brings me to the speculation part. So we got the controller, got the headset, got the shoes. Are we expecting anything else for the 20th anniversary? Because I get DMs all the time. People want there to be an event. Like it's a big milestone for Xbox 20th anniversary. They want to know if there's going to be some sort of stream or Xbox show where, Phil Spencer will talk. Will they unveil a brand new game? Will there be new trailers for already announced games? Stuff like that. Do you think that's in the card, Jez? Or do you think it's going to be a little bit more low-key? Like, I expect there to be some sort of videos. I expect Phil Spencer to make a video of some kind or be in something. Like, but do you expect there to be, quote-unquote, an event? I guess since we're talking about this.
I think if there's going to be an event, they might have announced it by now. I think Microsoft's probably focusing their chips towards the Game Awards this year, but I could be wrong. It could be totally wrong. They could come out of left field and be like, "Oh, by the way, we're going to have a little event or something." I don't know. I think COVID and the restrictions are probably affecting the scale of what they can and can't do potentially maybe with this stuff. But again, could be completely wrong. I haven't heard anything about an event, but. Just have to wait and see, man.
Subzetic says, American company, American pronunciation. Rand is right. See, there you go.
America. But some people are saying Adidas is German.
I don't know. Is it German? I know some people are saying that, but I don't know if it is or not. Adidas. Adidas. I don't know. I've been saying Adidas my whole life. So
Adidas. I've been saying Adidas my whole life.
See, the Glitch Doctor, who's been a member for 13 months, says, Adidas used to be a German company named after its founder, Andreas Dassler. Jez's pronunciation is accurate. So, we're kind of split on this. I do think they're going to have some sort of... I just can't imagine them not filming something, Jez, I guess is what I'm going to say. I expect there to be some sort of videos. I expect there to be like a retrospective and a look back at Xbox. It's a big moment. I also expect there to maybe announce a new batch of backwards compatibility titles. 360, OG Xbox. I mean...
Al Nick say something to that effect?
Who cares what Nick says? Who cares?
Who
cares what Nick says? I'm just saying it makes the most sense. If you're going to celebrate 20 years of Xbox... the 360, the OG, the Xbox One, like you do that with a new batch of backwards compatibility games, and they said like they were gonna do it at some point, and I would imagine like this would be the moment, like hey, come celebrate the 20th anniversary with even more games from our past.
I think it would be a sick gesture, especially considering we got Alan Wake remastered this month, to bring back Max Payne. We could bring back Max Payne from the Xbox One, the OG Xbox One. Bring that back to the current gen consoles. Get Rockstar on board. I think that'd be cool. But, yeah.
So that's what, a month from now. I also think that maybe that's when we'll see the Halo campaign trailer right around then. Maybe even on the 15th because it's also the 20th anniversary of Halo. They did say we'll get a deeper dive into it, and I think maybe that deeper dive will come on that day. I mean, what better day to do it? The game comes out like pretty much a month after that. Forza Horizon 5 would have come out, and the marketing would have been all for it, so it's like now you can focus on Halo. So that's kind of the way I view it. Maybe closer to the 20th anniversary, me and Jez will do like, our favorite moments about Xbox or whatever, because I'm sure we have a lot. But yeah, I like to know in chat if any of you guys are interested in buying the new controller. I'm not gonna get it. I'm not gonna get the headset. I actually own the wireless Xbox headset. It's my backup. But I want to know if any of you guys are, because I know a lot of people are like, man, I'm spending a lot of money for the 20th anniversary. I'm getting the Series X custom Halo console. I'm getting that Halo Elite. I'm getting like the Forza Horizon 5 custom controller, and now I got to get this Xbox custom controller. Like and we know Microsoft loves their controllers, right? Love their controllers. Joe Taylor says in chat, did you guys see Tencent bought a stake in Bloober? I did see that. They bought a 22% stake in Bloober. Jez, did you see that?
Tencent buying stakes in literally everything.
Mm.
Not surprised there, but oh well.
Yeah.
I think that's really strange. That's a strange one for me because Bloober is not Tencent's typical wheelhouse. That is a strange one, but I don't know. I ain't an investor. I ain't a business guy, so they must know something I don't know, I guess.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't have thought Tencent would invest in a studio like that. Bloober don't make service games. They make niche horror games that haven't reviewed that well generally. So I don't know. Maybe Tencent just have infinite money and they just throw cash around all over the place. Maybe that's Tencent's game.
Maybe. The Verge also reported, Jez, that the Xbox Cloud, is now fully powered by the Series X blades. And as someone who, and you as somebody who basically is someone who plays on the cloud all the time, do you notice the difference? Is the difference noticeable from when they were using 1S blades to the Series X blades? Like substantially noticeable?
It was stock, but it happened in the UK maybe last June, I want to say, June or May. It happened around E3 for the UK. They announced they were going to start rolling it out, and I guess the UK was higher up on the list because it was one of the first countries that got xCloud after America and Canada. Did we get it before Canada? I can't remember. But yeah, it was noticeable. Like I went from being unable to play a 3D game to being able to play a 3D game. Like the picture out, the encoding, the video encoding was not fast enough to process the 3D game before they did the upgrades. So like I was playing Control and xCloud the other day, and it was super responsive and running completely fine. However, there are still it's still not as good as Stadia or GeForce Now for performance, I think, at least not in the UK. I have heard that the UK may have a specific issue with its data center that's stopping it from being as good as it is in America and some other places. But I've also heard, Rand, that xCloud is doing extremely well in Brazil and Eastern Europe. So especially in regions where taxes keep console prices really high. So like Brazil, they have like a lot of tax on some electronic goods and tariffs or something. I don't know the exact details about why, but Xboxes and PlayStations are notoriously highly priced in Brazil. And a lot of people are using xCloud there instead. So that's been good to hear. The response from some countries have been up there, but Microsoft still has a lot of work to do there. I think they need a cloud only subscription tier, because like if you are someone who's buying xCloud because you don't have an Xbox, then what do you need xCloud on PC or any console for? What do you need Xbox Live for? Why isn't there a cloud only subscription? I also think there's not enough games on xCloud. The selection is pretty damn small. I think the touch controls the selection of games with touch controls is even smaller. I think there's only like maybe 20 or 30 games that have touch controls. So, there's a lot of work to do, but they still say it's in beta. They still call it a beta, and it's going to be a while before it gets out of beta. I think we'll see a lot of improvements to the service in the next year. They're doing a lot of work on their algorithm, their encoding to make it faster and faster and faster to try and catch up to Stadia and NVIDIA GeForce, GeForce Now, whatever it's called. So yeah, I mean they're in a race basically because there's a lot of players in this space, and whoever hits mass market appeal first will ultimately dominate the landscape until someone comes in and disrupts it. But it's it's cool to see. Have you tried it yourself yet? Or have you
Not
still?
yet. Well, because I went to try it and then it was gone from my console. I had it and then then it was gone, but I have it again. So I don't really have any interest in trying it on like my PC browser or on my iOS phone, but I do want to test it out on the console to see what it would be like playing Marvel Avengers instead of having to download 126 gigabytes and playing that. I want to see how it's like. Okay, this is what it looks like, and because I want to do it, I want to see like, okay, this is what it looks like natively. This is how it feels, and then this is what it looks like and how it feels if you're running from the cloud, right? So I do kind of want to test that out for myself at least.
I did sort of realize when I tested it on console that it changed my mentality when it came to trying a game. Like I'm not a Marvel fan. Spoken about this on the podcast before. Don't care about Marvel a little bit. I think it's lame and boring. But because I don't even have to download the game, I thought I'll try Marvel Avengers. I'll just run it straight off my console. And yeah, the picture quality was a bit fuzzy, but the controls were totally responsive. And I was like, man, I'm actually quite impressed with this. The combat actually feels really good, at least at the start of Marvel Avengers. And it sort of changed my mentality when it came to trying a game. And I think like the speed of accessing games on Xbox Game Pass is going to change users' behavior around how the service works. Like, I don't think cloud will ever replace consoles ever. I think like because xCloud uses console hardware to run. So like if they're making the cloud out of consoles, they might as well sell native versions for you to use at home because it saves them on bandwidth. And like if you're using your own bandwidth. So they're always going to sell consoles, so don't worry about that. But what it does do, it saves you from having to download the whole game to try something out on Game Pass. Much like Netflix. Like there's no investment for me to try out a show on Netflix. I just like look at the thumbnail. If the thumbnail looks interesting, or people are talking about it, I'll just try it. I don't have to download the whole show. I just stream it. And I think like the fact that, and we're going to talk about Avengers in a little while, I think, but Marvel Avengers is finding an entire new audience right now, and it's doing it because the barrier to entry has been dropped thanks to xCloud and Xbox Game Pass mainly.
Yeah, I mean, we can kind of talk about it now, right? And talk about how like it came out a year ago. It was didn't get really great reviews. I played through the campaign. I thought the campaign was fun. I thought the campaign was well done, at least like kind of half. Like the parts that were multiplayer orientated, I thought were really bad. But like I thought like the campaign was very good in like the Crystal Dynamics way. But according to a lot of reports out there, not a lot of people played it. Square Enix lost a lot of money on it. And here we are a year later, and it's in Game Pass, and it's shot up the top played games on Xbox because of it. It's one of the most popular games on Game Pass. And because, but it's in the news for a more negative thing. Like, the game finding more players is great. Hopefully the people in Game Pass that are playing it like it, right? And that's the whole point of putting the game in Game Pass. Microsoft has an audience there that is going to check out stuff because it's just there and you can just download it. And even with the xCloud stuff, like you mentioned, you can just press a button and just start playing it to see if you even want to spend the bandwidth to download the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
But they lied, Jez.
They lied.
Square Enix lied. When they were talking about this game, they always said, listen, DLC and the stuff that you buy or whatever is just always going to be cosmetic. Don't you worry about it. But then, earlier this year, they made the XP grind longer. So they made it like longer to level up. And they said it was because, what was their reasoning, Jez? People felt overwhelmed or whatever it was, whatever excuse they said. With all the different characters, people felt overwhelmed. And what do you know? It comes to Game Pass, and suddenly, Marvel Avengers has paid XP boosters after nerfing XP gains and saying they would never do that.
Yep.
How shady is that?
I mean, there's nothing more to say, is there? It's par for the course of Square Enix. I've heard things about Square Enix recently. Like their Western arm is very different to their Japanese arm. I've heard that Square Enix's Japanese developers basically operate independently. There's no centralized management or creative management, whatever. But the Western side is very different. And they're sort of managed more like an evil Western publisher, similar to your EA or Activision. So the fact that Square Enix seems to be doing so much more scummier in the West is because they are sort of basically operationally independent of Square Enix Japan. So, it's like I'm not even shocked, man. I'm just not even shocked. They just do this kind of crap over and over again, and they've done it since like Deus Ex Mankind Divided, where they shoehorn multiplayer into games that don't necessarily need it, and they're trying desperately to sort of find their identity in a service-driven world. They had an opportunity. They made Outriders Always Online for no reason, and I'm sure they had a plan. I'm sure they had a plan for like pay to win in that too, but like the developer publisher relationship between People Can Fly and Square Enix seems incredibly strained. If you look at some of the tweets that People Can Fly have put out, basically blaming Square Enix for a lot of the issues and saying, we haven't heard from Square Enix about this stuff. We're basically off the project now. Square Enix Western Arm seems like a complete shit show. And for me, that lends credence to the idea of Square Enix just getting out of the game in the West, selling their properties and IPs and studios to Microsoft, and just get out, because what's the point if you're relying on Xbox Game Pass to like drive sales of your games, and then manipulating all of your user base by lying about cosmetics and stuff? To me, that is kind of like short-term desperation. That is short-term gains. They don't care about the long-term future of that game and that product, because they don't mind pissing off the entire fan base right out of the gate. So what they're thinking is, we're going to make as much short-term games as we can. So because we've got a view of, we know Crystal Dynamics, we're going to try and sell them to Microsoft. Maybe, to put a tinfoil hat spin on it. That's what I think. I think Square Enix Western Arm is just like, they're so disappointing all the time. They squander their projects on these sort of desperate pay-to-win stuff, and they're always online and trying to make everything a service. Deus Ex, in what universe does Deus Ex need a service mode attached to it, man? What universe, Rand? I'm ranting today on this podcast,
the one that we live in, apparently.
Yeah. The worst timeline, I guess. Alas, the Square Enix, par for the course, man. Par for the course.
I mean, maybe they feel that like it's been a year and they didn't want to do it at launch, but now nobody's really gonna, worry about it, right? And now that it's in Game Pass, finding a new user base, now's the perfect time to add XP boosters. But like the fact that they nerfed it and said they would never sell it, and then they did, is just really scummy. I don't like that. But I don't know who's like idea is this? Is this Crystal Dynamics? Is this Square Enix? Is this somebody else's? I just don't know. And I agree with a gun's a gun. I don't agree with them, but Deus Ex Battle Royale, baby, let's go. Is that next on the creatively bankrupt situation there, where it's just like, all right, well, what do we have? Like Ubisoft, right? They announced Ghost Recon Frontline, which is basically a Ghost Recon game, in a free to play, and it's three player teams, and it's a battle royale against 100 other people. But then they also have that Division Heartland free to play game, and they got X Divine free to play game. It's just like Ubisoft is throwing everything at the wall to see if anything sticks. Even though they did Hyperscape, which was a battle royale, but that completely flopped out of its mind. They're still trying. They're still doing this free to play stuff. So yeah, he may be right? Why not do a Deus Ex Battle Royale? That seems to be all the rage. But then,
oh god, that sent a shiver down my spine.
Right?
Deus Ex Battle Royale. That is violence. Right?
But then it's like, is even like, you look at Crystal, they're doing a licensed Marvel game, Avengers, and Eidos Montreal is doing the licensed Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, are they even letting them do original content? At least at some point they thought it'd be better for them to sort of do these Marvel games. But like, I don't think Guardians of the Galaxy is going to do very well, and it looks like Avengers didn't do well. I don't know if Xbox Game Pass can quote-unquote save Avengers. I think Avengers is kind of in the situation where it's at, but what do you do after that? If like the licensed stuff with some of the biggest IPs don't work, where do you go from there? Because Deus Ex kind of didn't set the world on fire, even though it's amazing. What do you have Eidos Montreal doing? Like Shadow of the Tomb Raider apparently didn't sell the greatest either. So it's like you kind of, I don't know. What do you even do with Tomb Raider? Like, are they just in this position where they're just like, we've wasted too much, like we need to just get out from underneath this and just get rid of it all? Like, that's kind of one of the reasons why Crystal Dynamics is available to work on Perfect Dark, because I think Square Enix doesn't know what to do with them. And they're just like, you know what? You're free. Derek Gallagher's there. He knows everybody. We know they were trying to hire up for this game, but, you know, they really couldn't for whatever reasons. Let's just get Crystal Dynamics in it. And I agree with you, Jez. We talked about it a couple weeks ago. Like, I think this all ends with Crystal Dynamics being added to the Xbox family, and maybe even Eidos Montreal. Maybe Microsoft just buys their Western division, and Square Enix is like, we just wash our hands from it. Just give us some money, and we're done with our Western stuff. Like, we don't have to worry about that anymore.
I would love that. They could save Hitman. They could save Deus Ex. It'd be perfect. And like a lot of those franchises, like they've got like a huge amount of potential to be like multimedia brands. You know, Hitman's already had like several mobile games that were actually pretty good as mobile games go. Like the whole Hitman sniper thing was quite satisfying, and there was like a Hitman puzzle game as well that was actually quite good. And I played it a fair bit. It was like one of the only games on Windows Phone, and it had Xbox achievements. This Hitman puzzle game. Do you ever play that, Rand? It was like you had to assassinate all the people in a room, but you only had so many moves to do it in. This Hitman.
No, I didn't play the mobile one. I did. There was like a sniper game that was part of like Hitman 2, I think.
I don't know. But Hitman, that puzzle game, like I can't remember what it was called at all. But it was
Hitman
really
Go,
cool.
Right? It was called Hitman Go.
Yeah, Hitman Go. Yeah, it was quite cool. And I think like Microsoft's looking for mobile games too. Like, screw it, give me Hitman Go 3 and with Xbox achievements on my phone, I'll play that. You know, I think I need to look into it a bit more, like what other studios Square Enix has on its and what other interests. But you know, can you imagine like getting the Soul Reaver IP and a lot of this stuff that's just sitting in Square Enix's vault doing naff all? Microsoft has a big nostalgia problem, I think, or at least it used to. It doesn't anymore, I guess, because it's got Bethesda and Doom and Wolfenstein and all this stuff. But I always thought back in the day, Microsoft had this nostalgia problem, you know, whereas like Nintendo has like a huge amount of nostalgia, Sony has like a good amount of nostalgia, and Xbox never had the same kind of nostalgia. Like there was nostalgia for Halo, but all their other IP was kind of recent. I think like if Microsoft acquired some of these older franchises from Square Enix and some of the studios and the IP, like you know, could help bolster that issue, but all that effort. But at the same time, there's also that would cost a lot of money.
Yeah, well,
quite a lot of money, and it would also cost. And it's also more adult games, more mature games. Like I think now the balance is like we've got before we didn't have that much IP. Now we have loads of IP, but it's all adult, mature games. Like adults are sort of like we're all getting older. Our time is getting lower. Microsoft really needs to tap the next generation of gamers too. And yeah, they have Minecraft, sure. But Minecraft's like a multi-platform thing. It doesn't really help Xbox directly necessarily. So like they need to like get some like youngster nostalgia in the go, which is where the whole Sega argument comes in, right? Like you get Sonic, GG, that's that sorted. Because I think Sonic is the most wasted IP ever. You know, it really is. But that's a whole nother topic of discussion. But and also you get Tomb Raider and all that stuff, and which is a huge amount of nostalgia. So, whew. There's that.
Alexander Dark says, kind of funny that Crystal Dynamics opened a new studio in 2021, and Space Dovican says, isn't custom Xbox Series X blades like faster ones? I don't exactly know what's custom about them, but I don't really know much. That's what they kind of describe them as, just like there's blades for the cloud gaming stuff. So, but they do like it outputs 1080p 60, and I know a lot of people ask about 4K. Like when is they're going to output 4K? I think that's on the roadmap. I don't think they're worried about it yet.
Yeah.
I think they want to just make sure the latency feels really good before they make the jump to 4K. So, yeah, what else we got here, Jez? The Twitch leak. I saw your tweets about this Twitch leak stuff.
Twitch leak.
A lot of lot of opinions going on. Somebody hacked Twitch and
Yes, they did.
basically got the payouts from all the. That's what everybody seems to be talking about. The payouts of all the Twitch streamers, like the top 1,000 or whatever it is, and how much money they made, and their big discussion about, is this right? I saw some discussion about, the how it's mostly dominated by men, and white men at that, and it needs more diversity and needs more women and stuff like that. And what was your whole take on this? Because I know you had some interesting arguments with people. I was watching you argue with them, but there's definitely a group of people that hate influencer marketing, that hate the parasocial relationships people have with streamers. Like, why am I giving money to someone like Shroud, right? Who I actually do like, but I've never given him any money. But Shroud is a millionaire, so it's like, should I give him any money? But people like to give him their money because they like to feel like they're friends with him or whatever. And I am always of the opinion, like, it's your money, you do what you want. Like, I'll donate my money to people, super chats when I watch some podcasts. I am subscribed to people on Twitch that I do like. You know what I mean? So, and it's just, you do what you want with your money. Like, these people money. I guess maybe you could say, like, well, if they're kids and they're spending their parents' money, that's the problem, or a problem. But I'm not surprised by how much money those guys are making. Like, they built a brand. Their brand is huge, and they're basically celebrity, like, sports stars almost at this point, right?
Well, yeah, that was my argument ultimately. It's like, it's how is it any different to, like, a sports star? Or how is it any different to, like, a TV celebrity or whatever? There's no real difference in my view. Like, I can't play Fortnite as good as Ninja. Like, some of the players Ninja does, like, it's fun to watch. He's like back in his prime or whatever. Ninja was like trick shotting, doing all kinds of crazy shit. It was entertaining to watch, and it was unique and stuff like that. And that's how he grew his brand. A lot of these guys who are at the top of their game, they're like extremely good at the games, and people watch them in the same vein that they watch a sports star who, like, they're really good at football, and these guys are really good at the games they play. And then you'll get, like, other kinds of streamers who are, like, more entertaining, and, like, they're funny, or, like, they're funny to watch, or they've got, like, strong opinions, like Asmongold. Like, he's a World of Warcraft streamer, and he's, like, the #1 World of Warcraft influencer, and all he does is, like, bash Blizzard, basically. So people go to him for his strong opinions because, they hope that the devs will listen to Asmongold and implement some of his feedback, maybe. I don't know. Ultimately, at the end of the day, it's just entertainment, and we all pay for entertainment. It's all subjective. Like, I subscribe to a bunch of Patreons from small creators on YouTube because I like their content, and I want to support them. And I know, like, YouTube, especially when you're small and starting out, YouTube is a pain. Like, I've seen, like, Windows Central's YouTube channel has like 500,000 subscribers, but there's no way someone could make a living just on that alone. Like, I've seen how much money Windows Central's main YouTube channel makes, and it's not a lot of money. Like, let me put it that way. To make money, you have to, like, have sponsors, and you have to have all these other deals, and you have to be doing all these other hustles. It's a business, and it's a lot of grind. Like, you'll know, Rand, as well. Like, we haven't, like, ever had a sponsor for, like, the podcast, for example. Like, and that's where a lot of this money comes from. It's like a business.
I get a lot of emails every single day about sponsorships for YouTube, that they'll pay me X amount of money to talk about their product. But, like, most of the things have nothing to do with gaming or anything that I think my audience is interested in. Right, so I don't really take those offers, even though it's a lot of money, and I probably should because it's a business. And Doom Reaper says, I mean, we all know Rand is a millionaire. He says it in every show. No, Jez says that on every show. I never say that because I'm definitely not a millionaire. But the offers I get, and I'm small time, like, are ridiculous. But I don't want to talk about certain products because I know you guys would be like, what the hell? Why is Rand trying to sell us on this? Or like Raid Shadow Legends, like they were like, we will pay you this amount of money to talk about Raid Shadow Legends. I'm like, but like I'm never gonna play Raid Shadow Legends. Like,
and now you're talking about it for free.
well, even still, like Raid Shadow Legends sucks, but you get my point, right? So
I actually saw an ad for Red Shadow Lizard. I think, shit, that actually looks pretty good. But,
so it just really depends. But yeah, we've never done a sponsor for the podcast, and we probably could if we wanted to. There's always a lot of opportunities. Punk Soul says you did flex the OLED this week, but I was asked about the OLED. So,
someone was arguing with you about that OLED.
Yeah, about the whole OLED thing. But yeah. So yeah, it's just, I don't know, like I don't have a problem with how people spend their money. I really don't. If they want to give their money to any of the big streamers on Twitch or whatever, I don't really care. It's their money. They earned it. Let them do whatever they want to do with it. But there is an interesting like aspect to it, and I did see like Cliffy B talk about it. He basically said that while he, what did he say? He was basically like, he knows how much work goes into being like a streamer and all that stuff, right? But he thought it was a little weird that some of the streamers are making more money than any developers who actually made the games that those people then streamed to make their fortunes, right?
Yeah.
Like there's no, but like Shroud's making 20 million or whatever it is playing PUBG, but nobody on PUBG's team is making 20 million, essentially. But that's the difference between being a company versus being like an individual and being marketed as like an individual brand.
Yeah, it's no different. It's no different. I think people just see it as like, oh, they just sit in their bedrooms playing games and get paid for it. And I was just like, well, you do it then. It's people like they want to be entertained, and that's the entertainment for some people. I have no interest watching streamers whatsoever. When I watch a streamer play a game, I think, man, I should just play this game myself. It's like sports. I don't watch sports either. But I don't see like why people are mad at Twitch streamers. Why aren't you mad at sports celebrities as well? Like what's the difference? What is the difference?
Because it doesn't fit their agenda. It's hard work. Like Flash Gordon says, streaming's hard work. 100% it is. Making YouTube videos is hard work.
For the life of me, dude, I could not play Fortnite 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. That would drive me insane. Can you imagine playing the same game all day, every day?
I wouldn't be able to do it. I'd kill myself.
I remember Ninja when Ninja was on Mixer back in the day. God rest Mixer's gentle soul. I remember Ninja. He was talking about like he was being quite frank on one of his shows, and he was saying something. I don't want to like directly quote him, so I'll paraphrase, but he said something along the lines of, "Whenever I play a game other than Fortnite, I see my viewership crash." And sometimes he wants to play other games other than Fortnite, but people just want to see him play Fortnite because that's where his epic elite skills are. And like if you're playing the same game every day in day out, it's a grind. It's I can't imagine that's fun. I mean, God knows how many hours Ninja's going Fortnite, but alas, it is what it is.
Yeah, it's not as easy as people think. It's a job, right? For a lot of these dudes, they put a lot into it. Even like making YouTube videos, like my videos take like 2 to 3 hours to make. I know Colt puts a lot of work into it, and he spends 5 or 6 hours on something. Like it definitely, it's not like super easy, to do. But
I've done videos for Windows Central that I've got like 200,000 views. Like I think like one of my dashboard update videos went viral and hit like 200,000 views or whatever. And like I was just thinking like, there's no way I could do like 2 of these videos a week. It's just, for me, it's not fun to do, like editing a video. It's hard work. And like streaming as well is like a lot of hard work. I mean, just doing a podcast, that's one thing. But like playing a game while watching chat by yourself, you're by yourself, streaming a game, trying to concentrate and be good on the game while also managing chat and doing that for several hours a day. Like, it's just not super fun. I used to do that on Mixer. like Windows Central's Mixer channel. We were one of the biggest streamers on Mixer. We were one of the first partners, Mixer. And I think at the start I streamed like 3 times a week or whatever. And then like over time I was just like, man, I'm so tired of this. Like streaming every day. So like I ended up streaming once a week, and then it was like once every 2 weeks. And then like if you don't hustle constantly, you lose your algorithm rankings and stuff like that. You have to really love it to really make it a career. And not only that, but you have to be like, you have to have a uniquely entertaining hook. You have to like be really good at a game. You have to be naturally funny. A lot of things that I am not. So you know, I'm lucky that I could get some good leaks sometimes. So at least I got that going for me. But you know, I don't begrudge anyone who, you know, can hustle and, you know, gets fans and they get donations and stuff like that. And you know, and people are saying in chat like they have a team that don't do it solo. Yeah, but they start out doing it solo. They didn't have a team to start with. They grew to the point they could have a team. You know, so people act like Twitch has just handed them $10 million a month, but a lot of these people have been grinding for years to get to that level. You know, at the end of the day, like anyone can do this. Literally anyone. If you want to do this, just do it. You need like a decently powerful computer, which ain't that expensive these days, and get going. You know, and
don't quit your job though.
No,
don't quit your job. Yeah.
I mean, when I started blogging, it was like blogging for me was a side hustle. Like I had my main job, my main minimum wage job as an IT guy, and then like in between calls, I'd do a blog post, and then like I realized, hey, I'm actually pretty good at blogging. I'll do a bit more. Started doing it on the weekends, and then now I'm here. You know, anyone can do this. You just have to find what you're passionate about. And I, for one, I'm glad that the internet has facilitated more types of jobs for people who, you know, can make a living doing something they really enjoy. Because back in the day, like when I went to my job advisor, my job advisor was like, I said to my job advisor, I was about 13, and everyone in the UK has to have a job advisor where they sort of try and help you figure out what career you want to do. And my job advisor was like, oh, you can type really fast. Why don't you work in an office? And I was like, I want to be a paleontologist. I want to dig up dinosaurs because I really like Jurassic Park. And he was like, nah, that's a stupid idea. Just be an office guy, an office clerk. And it was so depressing to hear that. You know, that like my life was going to amount to being a minimum wage data entry person. So like, and I did that for years because they told me that's the only thing I could do. But now I know that it's a lie. Anyone can do anything. You know, if you want to be a creator, go out and do it. You know, if you want to be a game dev, there's free tutorials on YouTube where you can learn game development. That's how a lot of people get started. They learn game development on YouTube, then they make mods for a game they like, and then they end up getting hired. Like I saw someone who made a Oblivion mod get hired by Bethesda recently. You know, the internet provides us with a pathway to find a new career options in life. But there's nothing wrong with just wanting, you know, to do like a normal job and just, you know, sometimes I do think like back in the day when I was 9 to 5, it was nice to come home and like not have any homework to do and you could just relax or whatever and not have to like constantly be on call. It was nice in some ways, and there's nothing wrong with that as long as you can support yourself and your family. But, you know, this sort of got a little bit off track. I think, Rand, with the Twitch thing, I think the scarier thing about it is, why is Amazon, who controls 40% or more of the internet, like literally 40% or more of the internet runs on Amazon servers, how is Amazon getting hacked when Amazon is a huge corporation with a huge cloud footprint? How are they getting hacked? Like, what is their security state looking like when a company like that can get hacked? You know,
that's a good question, Jez. That is definitely a good question.
Can you imagine if Microsoft got hacked like that?
I mean, I think, well, yeah, I don't know. I mean, everybody gets hacked. I mean, I don't know. Like, I think I recently T-Mobile, I think I had to change some passwords because they got breached. Yeah, it just happens. But
T-Mobile's not in the internet cloud security business.
I know they aren't. So it's like Amazon getting hacked or Twitch getting hacked is pretty awful for their business. Like for them trying to sell protection and their servers and stuff. So yeah, I see what you're saying. But I got to give a shout out to my guy, Gaming Forte, the co-host of DPS Podcast. He says content creation is hard. Gaming takes a back seat if you want to stay super consistent with daily uploads, and that's why most people fall off. And Z Black Rider says I'd hang just for once a week on YouTube. Yeah. It's not as easy as people think, but I'm definitely not saying like content creation is as hard as like say like going down into the mine and digging for coal or being an electrician or stuff. You know, there's definitely some really hard jobs out there. I'm just saying like to make it as a content creator, you could start streaming on Twitch right now and get nowhere. You could have no viewers for 3 years. Like there's also luck. There's luck involved as well. So it's just like, and then you gotta bend to the algorithm on YouTube. Like you could make all the videos you want on YouTube, but if YouTube doesn't push your stuff, then nobody will ever see it. So there's also luck involved as well. So it's just
I've seen YouTube and Google. They offer no transparency about, or well, very little transparency about how their algorithms work. So you just sort of have to guess, and you have to like look what other people are doing. You have to be willing to compromise in some ways the way you deliver content. If you see like, oh well, the content I want to make doesn't work, you have to like think about like what should I make instead. And it's like that on Twitch. And I think like some of the criticism about Twitch, the diversity of Twitch's top paid people, I think like there's some valid criticism to be made there. But a lot of it's just subscription fees, and how do you control who people want to subscribe to, you know? And Twitch could do more to push like diverse streamers for sure, you know. But I go on the front page and first thing I see is, you know, some lass in a bikini, whatever. I have no idea what's going on with Twitch these days. I'd actually deleted my Twitch account a while ago. So I was like, I don't use Twitch, I don't need it. And I try to like reduce the amount of accounts I have on different websites because of this whole hacking thing, you know. I don't want like one website to get hacked and then my details just be out there and whatever. So I try not to use too many websites, but I don't know. It is what it is, I guess. It's an interesting discussion either way, and it's interesting too that Twitch, there was a massive Twitch hack this week, and also Facebook was down.
Yeah, Facebook was down. Same thing with like WhatsApp and Instagram and stuff. But
yeah. These companies have too much bloody control, man.
Yeah, they do.
They have too much control.
But maybe like the last big topic I want to talk about: PlayStation copying Xbox. From the Jim Ryan quote. Did you see his sit down with, I think, Game Industry Biz? Where I'll read the quote. I'll read the quote, right?
Let's hear it.
Jim Ryan says, right now, success with the current console model, a really great PlayStation hit, you're talking 10 or 20 million people being able to play that game. We're talking about game stacking up against music. We're talking about game stacking up against movies. Music and movies, they can be enjoyed by almost limitless audiences. And I think some of the art that our studios are making is some of the finest entertainment that has been made anywhere in the world. And to kind of gate that audience for that wonderful art, wonderful entertainment that our studios are making, to gate the audience for that at 20 or 30 million frustrates me. I would love to see a world where hundreds of millions of people can enjoy those games. Now, my first thought was if you change PlayStation to Xbox, that almost reads like an early 2016, 2017-ish Phil Spencer quote about reaching hundreds of millions of gamers and billions. But interestingly enough, this is from Jim Ryan, Jez. What could he possibly be talking about here? Is he basically admitting that Xbox's strategy of PC and cloud is the right way and that they're going to be following in the footsteps that Xbox laid down? What do you think, Jez?
You know, I spoke to someone in the industry a while ago about this, and they said to me, and this is someone who's very experienced in the game industry and quite high up. They said to me, we all expect in the industry that Sony will eventually copy Xbox's model 1-to-1. They expect that Sony will eventually put all their games day and date on PlayStation. They expect that Game Pass, they'll co-opt the Game Pass model. They expect they'll start pushing their cloud models more, or partner with a big cloud firm to expand that. And like there was a whole thing where Sony was like, yeah, we're going to partner with Xbox on cloud technology, and nothing seemed to come of it. But it certainly seemed to me like Sony was exploring what they could do with the cloud. It's just, people will say like he's backtracking or whatever, but at the end of the day, you can't even if he's backtracking, you can't let your pride affect the reality of your business, because that's not being a good businessman. He's completely right in saying that there is a hard cap on the amount of people who want to own a console. It seems like that the console market only has an appeal to a certain amount of people before it capped out. And it doesn't seem like the console market is growing. Basically, Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft fighting over the same amount of people every gen. It doesn't seem that there's more people outside of that sphere that want to grow it more. And I think part of that is tied to the idea of having to own a console. For a lot of countries, having to own a console is not just a luxury, but it's also for them, it's kind of like, why? I've already got a tablet, I've already got a phone, and I've already got games on here, and these games are free. So like, why would I want to have a console? And there's an entire generation of kids who expect games to be free. You got Genshin Impact blowing up with the younger generation right now. Although I did see a lot of people are mad at Genshin Impact right now because of an anniversary update or something being lackluster. But games like Genshin Impact are really, really, really strong with youngsters because their parents don't have to pay any money. So like, why would a parent buy their kid something that was one-dimensional? Like, a console is one-dimensional. All it can do is play console games. It's not like an iPad where you can do your homework on it. You can also go on YouTube on it in your bed. You don't even need a TV. iPad does everything for a kid. So, for Microsoft, their mentality is, we have to go where they are. They did this with Microsoft Office, and the Microsoft Office is absolutely massive. They put Office on iPad, and it completely changed the game for Office. Office makes absurd money now because it's on everything. So Xbox is taking the same approach. They want to put xCloud on everything. The problem with xCloud is it needs a huge amount of bandwidth and it needs a huge amount of servers. And that's why it's still in beta round. I think Microsoft, they know they don't have the capacity to really start pushing xCloud right now. And I think that's why there isn't a cloud-only subscription. I think that's why the library is so small, because they want to grow the amount of capacity they have before they really start marketing and pushing it. It's an enormous amount of bandwidth, and that's why, Netflix is paying a huge amount of money to Amazon, and it costs a lot of money. And I just don't think Xbox has the capacity. The chip shortage is affecting that too. And if Sony wants to start growing PlayStation now, they're going to have to get chips in as well, or they're going to have to partner with a cloud provider to do it. And it's expensive, but I think it is the key to unlocking the console stuff. Jim Ryan's completely right. He's not an idiot. He makes gaffes sometimes. He says some things sometimes that maybe he probably regrets, but he's not an idiot. He knows what he's doing, and I think he's completely right in saying that for the devs and their art, for them to be limited to the relatively small console footprint compared to the amount of devices out there, it's just a damn shame. It's not even about money at that point. It's just like, man, it's like our teams have worked really hard on this game, this work of art, and literally we can't get any exposure outside of the console market space. And I think that's why a lot of more devs are exploring these transmedia ideas, multimedia, where, you've got a TV show of Halo coming, you've got a TV show of Last of Us coming, you've got a new Resident Evil reboot media movie thing coming. And it's because those devs are thinking, all those publishers are thinking, how can we really maximize our IP? We can't really, today, we can't really deliver our game directly to a TV, so we'll make a movie version instead. So, I think it's completely the right move. And I do expect PlayStation to eventually start putting its games on PC day and date. And I do expect them to start putting their games day and date into Game Pass as well,
Meaning
But
to
I
like
also,
PlayStation Now or whatever.
yeah, into PlayStation Now, sorry. But I also really appreciate the fact that they're probably a little bit more cautious about it. Because for Microsoft, it's like, Microsoft just, they took like a 1 billion write-off on the first Surface. Like it was nothing. I don't think Sony has that kind of capacity financially. So like for Sony to really grow, they have to convince creditors and say like, yeah, we want to start really pushing and expanding. We've got the potential to do it. And they have to go to a bank and say, give us all this money. And the bank's like, yeah, we think this is a good investment. And it would be a good investment. It would be a good investment to do. But like, it's not like, so I appreciate that Sony may have a little bit more cautious about it. And they don't have a cloud infrastructure that they can stick servers into like Microsoft does. They'll have to partner with someone, which also adds another layer of financial complexity on the whole operation. So I appreciate that Sony's been slower to come around to this idea, but they can afford to be slower as well because they have really great games that everyone knows are bangers. And if someone's like, if you just say to someone, you can now play Spider-Man on your phone, boom, millions of people will sign up to PlayStation Now instantly. I guarantee. But they took PlayStation Now off Android, which I didn't even realize until recently, because I was literally thinking, you know what, I'm going to try PlayStation Now on my Galaxy Fold, and I didn't even know that Sony had removed it from Android. You can only play PlayStation Now on PC right now. And to me, that's like them admitting they don't have capacity to go after all of these gamers. It's going to need a huge amount of investment. So I think that's Jim Ryan signaling to investors like, yeah, we're going to start looking for funds to start growing out this cloud thing because there's something to it. So I think it's completely right, and I think it's the right move. And I swear to God, if PlayStation Now comes to Android, I will literally subscribe to it. I will subscribe to it day one, and especially if they put all the games in there, because right now they do this really annoying thing where it's like, it's where they put Last of Us in there for like 3 months and then it comes out. It's like, leave them in there permanently. Like I need to know that consistency that I have on Netflix and Disney Plus and Game Pass, where I know all the first party stuff is going to be in there permanently. But they've still got this sort of fear, almost, of like going too much in that direction. But they will. I think they'll come around, and I think Microsoft's model is the right one. And I think Sony will benefit from it immeasurably when they come around to it. That's my take, man. That's my take.
Interesting. So I'm going to get some of these super chats before I give you my spicy take. Supernova says Jimbo, right? Hargat says the gate to $70 games. PS Now becoming Game Pass. Games on PC. Smiley face. Whittia says, read Jim's comments. If Xbox is in the lead, how far is it? And what does Xbox need to do to maintain that lead? Well, I definitely don't think Xbox isn't. I mean, lead. I think they lead in the streaming space simply because of Azure, but I don't know where else Xbox is in the lead at. Maybe in the even like PlayStation Plus is has more subscribers, but that's. I mean, maybe you can make the argument Game Pass is the leading gaming subscription service, although Sony would probably argue PlayStation Plus is. Not Rima says, Snow, what happens when Microsoft approaches a dev with 30 million Game Pass subs and counting? 30 million to engage in microtransactions is not profitable, huh? Argid also says, what would be the point of a cloud version of PlayStation? Why not just become a publisher at that point? Will they really challenge Google, Amazon, and Xbox? And what else we got here? Danny says, I bought a camcorder back in 2011. I just want to become a filmmaker with effort, sacrifices, YouTube, and other platforms. My day rate start at $1,500. And Danny says, go make a living doing what you do. You won't regret it. So thank you guys for all the support. I mean, I don't know. Me and you have always kind of talked about essentially that PlayStation was going to follow in Xbox's footsteps. The PC thing, they're slowly but surely bringing everything to PC. Now, right now, it's not day and date. It's, a little bit later, but eventually, I think they will do day and date. Maybe they eventually put their games in PlayStation Now. I don't know. But what this clearly speaks on is that the console market where you sell this piece of hardware to is capped at a certain number. Like, you go back to basically the GameCube, PS2, and Xbox era. It's been the same 240 million people essentially around that number, that buy it every single generation. And while revenues have gone up for all the companies, essentially, because even though nobody new is joining, what they're doing is they're actually getting more money from all of us, right? So instead of just buying a game and that's it, now you buy a game, but then you also interact with it and buy, DLC, microtransactions. There's things you can subscribe to. So even though the total number of people playing games or the total number of people that own the systems aren't increasing from generation to generation, they're just, the money that we're spending is increasing because they're just getting more money from us. However, because you can only sell so many consoles, it really impacts the number of copies you can sell, right? And that's the main thing that Jim is talking about here, that he thinks their games are as good as any music or movie that you can essentially find out there. But the difference is, as Jim says, music and movies can be enjoyed by a limitless audience. And why can music and movies be enjoyed by limitless audiences? Because music and movies can be played on literally every single device or any single device that anybody owns, and it's also able to be streamed anywhere. The difference with PlayStation and Xbox is it's basically tied to a console. Although with Xbox's vision, that's not the case anymore. Now it's on PC. Now it's on the cloud. It's on mobile. It's going to be on TVs without the need of hardware. That's what Jim Ryan's talking about. And he says he feels frustrated by the current console model because he sees these games that essentially only are going to sell 10 to 20 million when he thinks they should be enjoyed by hundreds of millions, right? And it's basically because of the current console model. He wants like Last of Us Part 3 to be played by hundreds of millions of people, but he knows that it never will be because of their current model. And the only way to change that is expand the audience. But the only way to expand the audience is to not keep your content on that singular device. You have to go everywhere else. You have to go where the people are. But Sony's a little bit more, they're slower. They don't want to, they took forever to put their games on PC. So they're not even doing day one. They're not putting their games in a subscription service day one either. They're not even really doing mobile yet. But what this should signal to everybody is that, no, Xbox had the right strategy from the beginning, and that we're going to follow in their footsteps. It may take some time. Like Jez says, they're being cautious about it, but just judging from this, his interview here, you know exactly the path that PlayStation is going to walk down. It's going to be the same path that Xbox walked down. At some point in the future, you'll be able to get your PlayStation game on your PlayStation 5 or 6, as well as PC day one, maybe in a subscription service, maybe on TV in the cloud or on the mobile devices. So, Last of Us 4 or Horizon, 4 can be played potentially by millions of people, 50 million people, 60 million people instead of the 10 or 20 that's going to happen, because you're going to have God of War Ragnarok come out next year, and it's probably going to sell similarly to God of War 1. But Jim Ryan thinks that, but Jim Ryan's saying it frustrates him. Like, God of War is amazing in his opinion, and I would agree with him. God of War should be enjoyed as much as any great movie or any great music. The only limiting factor is the device you play it on. And, I don't know. It's clear as day to me. It's going to take time because, like Jez said, they don't have any access to any cloud servers like Microsoft does, but it's going to happen. People were damned. See, the thing is, people always look at it. They look at these, what Sony will or won't do, or any of these companies, about like, what's good for the fanboy narrative, what's good for the console war. Like, what's good for the console war is these games are only on PlayStation and these games are exclusive to PS5. What's bad for the console war is, Spider-Man's also on PS4. Horizon's also on PS4. God of War's also on PS4. That's bad because it makes it sound like Sony doesn't have really faith in the PS5 to put those games exclusive, right? That's bad for the console war. It's bad for the console war that you can't use any of that stuff. It's bad for the console war if Sony puts their games on PC. Nobody wanted to believe it. If you entered last gen 2013 and said Sony's going to put all their games on PC, all those people would have laughed at you and said, no, Sony knows the value of an exclusive. But Sony's a business, and they need to grow, and they know that the console audience is basically stagnated. They're not going to sell much more than what the PS2 did or what the PS4 is going to do. Sure, they can squeeze more money out of the current people playing it on the system, but to reach hundred millions of people, it needs to be everywhere. But nobody wanted to believe it because it's not good for their console war. So a lot of fanboys delve with their narratives of what they think is good for them and their console war when these companies literally don't care. You know? It's just they don't know how to run a business. You know, they do napkin math all the time, talk about all this stuff, but that's the future, man. Games everywhere. Games on any device that you essentially own. So it can be like music and movies. And shout out to my buddy Dealer Gaming in the chat. I see you there, brother. Thank you for stopping by. Appreciate you, man. You're the absolute best. Love you, Dealer. Yeah, it's just I think the thing is, I think people are starting to realize that. I think you saw the big, people throw fits when this was all first talked about, but over time, people will accept it. It's very similar to when Xbox first announced Quantum Break was coming to PC. There was a lot of people that basically threw a fit, but now nobody even bothers. Like, nobody even cares. It's just accepted. It's just the game's going to be on PC and it's going to be on Steam, and it's looked as a good thing because you're able to play the game anywhere you want to play it on, right? And Sony's going to do that, but for whatever reason, a lot of these dudes just don't want other people not on PlayStation to play their shit. But Jim Ryan's telling you, like, this is going to happen in the future. It's the only way. It's the only way for games to be on the same level as music and movies. It needs to be everywhere.
I think Sony's previous strategy was kill Xbox, basically. We want to take Xbox's market share and blah blah blah. And they were succeeding. But then Microsoft got serious and they bought Bethesda, which has changed the game. And I think Sony realizes that Xbox is now a serious competitor in that space, and they're going to have a harder time stealing people from Xbox now because Xbox fans are going to be eating good. We're going to be eating good in the next couple of years. Lots of games to look forward to. So I think Sony realizes that the only real way they can grow is to take an approach that's more similar to Xbox and move beyond the console. And there's nothing wrong with that. There is nothing wrong with that. It's not gonna stop. They're never gonna stop making PlayStations. Microsoft's never gonna stop making Xboxes. And I'm sure Nintendo's gonna have to go through this harsh reality as well. But Nintendo's sort of like, they've circumvented it a little bit by giving people a console they can take with them, a bit like an iPad. But even the Nintendo has its limitations. Nintendo Switch. Nintendo would make so much more money if they could just get some of those games on a phone. You know, they know it. They know they'd make more money. They absolutely know it. So, and I do think Nintendo is going to have to face this reality at some point as well, especially if Sony and Microsoft really do nail the whole cloud platform thing in the future. Nintendo could be the one left holding the bag. You know, they could be the one like left behind in all of this. So, you know, the industry evolves, the industry changes. I'm sure like in the early days of the internet, there were people dooming and glooming about consoles having Ethernet ports and internet. Like PlayStation 2 had an Ethernet port and Xbox, the first Xbox and stuff. And then like, I remember people doom and gloom Steam. I literally remember discussions at school and people were like, oh my God, Half-Life is stupid because I have to install DRM or whatever. I have to install Steam. And, you know, eventually people got on board with that as well. Now everyone loves Steam. Like the industry changes and people don't always like change. And it's like you say, Rand, it hurts the console war narrative in the interim. But as we all know, console warriors are a very small piece of the overall gaming pie.
They're a very small piece. They're very loud.
Very loud. They need to go and touch grass and get outside because I don't see that there's no issue if someone who can play God of War through an app on their TV, that's great for Sony, great for the devs, and it's great for the growth of the core console business. A game like God of War can stop a kid becoming a free-to-play, pay-to-win gamer and instead bring them over to our side, the better side, the side of not free-to-play games, of core games. It can save them from a lifetime of crapware and awful games like your Raid, Shadow Legends, and your pay-to-win stuff. So we should all be rooting for this cloud stuff to be the thing that brings the next generation into core gaming, because it's the only thing that's going to save core gaming. You know, if more and more of these publishers think, you know what, we need to go more to mobile, we need to go more to pay-to-win, that's gonna hurt us. That's gonna stop us getting the games we want to get. You know, us old people who don't like playing games on the touchscreen, Rand. I know you're not a fan of touchscreens. I'm not necessarily a fan of touchscreens. So, yeah, it's good for all of us. We need to work together as a single gaming community to fight back against the evils of mobile gaming. And the only way we can do that is if we can put all of the core games we love onto apps on phones and TVs. Jez for president, 2024.
Right. And you know what? I think that's a good spot to end the show. But we'll take some questions, put them in chat. I do have to get going here in like 25 minutes to do another podcast, which is, you know, back-to-back podcast. But, you know, that's the way it is. I said I'd do it. So if you enjoyed the show, guys, thank you for being here. We had over, I think, 1,100 people at one point. Thank you. I know the show's getting about three hours, which is ridiculous, but people love the longer shows. So hit the like button and subscribe if you're new. Jez will have this up on, you know, the podcast apps as soon as possible. We got a question from X the Gamer who says, do you think the upgrading of xCloud servers contributed to the Series X shortages? And do you know anything about the amount of consoles sold and Game Pass numbers? I think 100% it contributed to the Series X shortages because they had to use those chips in the blades instead of in the consoles. So 100%. And I think Jez would agree with me on that.
100%.
I don't know the amount of consoles sold, and I don't know the Game Pass numbers. I would guess Game Pass is maybe around 25 million, maybe 26. I don't know, Jez. Do you have any guesses on that?
I've heard it's between 25 and 30.
Okay, so, there you go.
Yeah,
somewhere between 25 and 30.
I've been told it's closer to 30 than 20.
Really? Okay. Well, maybe that Take-Two guy was right. Well, he did say close to 30, so who knows? Daniel Evans says, I just want to say Rand is perfect at making videos. Well, thank you. That really means a lot. I do put a lot of effort into making my videos. They're all scripted from the top of my head. I may not be as funny as Dealer with his making fun of the Sony acquisition, the GameSpot thing that he did, which was super cringe, but that was the whole point. People don't realize that, but cringy was the point of the whole thing. I don't think that flew over people's heads, but I do my best to try to make them as entertaining, as knowledgeable as possible. So I thank you for saying that. Let's see what else we got here. You know, by the way, you just said that. I'm sure there's going to be an article coming out soon. Virgil says, "You ready for?" I
just want to add a caveat. Then I have no evidence, just what I've heard. It's just what's going around the industry right now. But it's towards 30 million.
Caloric says, Just curious if you saw Sony invested $7 billion in the new semiconductor factory in Japan with TSMC. Think this will help Sony fix their chip shortage like everyone is having? Well, I think I did see that. I wasn't. I think they said they were considering doing it. I don't know if they actually invested it. I could be wrong.
Doing what? Sorry.
The Sony Group investing $7 billion in a new semiconductor factory in Japan with TSMC. But they would do that, but it wouldn't even like get going until 2023, 2024. So I mean, it wouldn't really help it out right now. And so I did see that, but I don't know if they did invest it. I thought they were thinking about investing it.
Yeah, Japan wants Sony. The Japanese government wants Sony to build a new 20 nanometer chip plant.
Yeah.
Are the chips in consoles 20 nanometer? I don't think they are, right?
No, 7 nanometer, I believe.
Yeah, so the chip shortage is like hitting all businesses. It's like a lot of the chip priority right now is going towards like essential stuff, like medical equipment, and then like, you know, cars and stuff like that. So like in terms of like things that society needs in order to survive, video game consoles are not at the top of the list. Maybe they should be, but they're not. For whatever reason. They need like MRI scanners and stuff like that first. So there's that whole aspect. Like the whole supply chain is really disruptive right now, and because of COVID, and because like the economy went to sleep for like a whole year, and now it's sort of revving back up again, and it's creating shortages all over the place, stuff like that. I don't know.
Some people want to know what podcast I'm doing next. I'll announce it when they announce it. So I don't think they are announcing it yet. It's a pre-recorded one, so yeah. Let's see what else we got here. Widia says, "What do you think? What do you think of the revival of the Kinect?" Yeah, it's interesting. Did you read the article about Sky TV bringing back Kinect, partnering with Microsoft, Jez, for their TVs and stuff, and basically the vision of Microsoft from 2013?
I haven't seen that yet. I need to go and check that out.
You do need to check it out. You all know my stance on Kinect. Hate it, and I think it's funny someone's bringing it back. What is it, 8 years later, and probably will be successful with it when Microsoft was well, here's the thing, was Microsoft successful with Kinect? Because it helped them extend the life of the 360. They sold a bunch, but then it killed the Xbox One, and this was a generation you couldn't lose. It was the digital generation when everybody was like tied to, like, so it was successful, but then it kind of led to the downfall of Xbox almost. So like, I guess so what is it? Would you consider it successful? I mean, I don't know how to answer that question. I honestly don't know. What? Like, do you consider Kinect successful? Like, yes, it sold a lot, but then it also led to the downfall of the Xbox during a generation they couldn't lose when everybody was transitioning to digital.
I think you can't blame the Kinect for that specifically.
Oh, I 100% blame Kinect for that.
You can't though, because if they'd sold them separately, it would have been fine. It was the strategy that was wrong.
Yeah, bundling it together, and part of this reason the system was built the way it was because the Kinect, so it wasn't as powerful. Like, I mean, so I'm like, you take the Kinect and the success it had during the 360 era, but then it erases the any sort of success, like any of that success, because the Xbox One bombed because of it.
Kinect is successful on the pure basis that the American military paid Microsoft $2 billion for Kinect-based helmets.
Sure. So, to Microsoft, yes. To Xbox, I don't know. Okay.
I think I actually have an article in the pipeline saying, and the title is simply this: Kinect was good.
No.
Yes.
Do not write. Do not release that.
I'm writing that article. Kinect was good.
Okay.
And you are wrong, right?
All right, fine.
Ninja Kinect is lit.
Don says, will Xbox hit the cadence of at least one big game per quarter in 2023, or could COVID delay that milestone further? I think they will, because I think COVID delayed those games from 2022 to 2023. So, personally, so I do think 2023 is when they are going to start hitting their big AAA game per quarter, personally. Let's see what else we got here.
They're also using Kinect for surgery robots and stuff. I don't know if you've seen some of the types of like surgery that robots can do now. They can do like things that are far more intricate than a human can do, potentially. Really tiny keyhole surgery, and they're using Kinect for that. Kinect is good, man. I don't care what you say, Rand.
I don't care what you say, Jez. Dave Lopez says, thoughts on the GTA Trilogy Definitive Edition. Well, they announced it today, finally. We didn't get to see what it looked like, so I don't know. I know it's probably going to sell really good. There's a lot of nostalgia with it. I need to see what it looks like and what it plays like first, personally. That's all says, Jez, when is 343 going to add full in-game subtitles to Halo Master Chief Collection? It's a nightmare for accessibility and language support.
I didn't even know that was a thing. I'll look into that and maybe write about it. Could you if you're on Twitter, could you DM me some details about what's missing, and that'll help me get the ball rolling.
And Mr. Forte says, how can I be a better YouTuber, Rand? Tell me all your trade secrets I need to know. I don't have any trade secrets, brother. I'm not very good at YouTube. I'm definitely nowhere near as good as Colt or Dealer. It's just a lot of practice at getting better, I guess. It's just, I don't know. It's tough to say. Proxilus says, have you heard anything about the Gunk? Is it still coming out this year? Yeah, I mean, they said December back at the, what was it? The the European show, Gamescom, but we haven't heard anything since. Yaquin says, "Hey gents, what are the chances 2 Human, Brute Force, or 99 Nights ever comes back? Missed old Xbox IPs. I would say very low chances any of those come back, especially 2 Human. I don't really think Brute Force will come back either, but I mean, you never know.
What's that beat 'em up?
That was like I think it was a shooter.
That beat 'em
Yeah.
up. Fighting Squad or something?
Oh, Virgil says, "You excited about You Season 3 premiere?" Yes, I am really excited about You Season 3. I really enjoy that show, so I will definitely be watching it when it drops next week.
What is that?
It's a TV show.
Never heard of
Rand Kloberl says Compulsion's game is dark fantasy third person. I mean, we knew it was third person, but yeah, I don't know anything about. I mean, it'd be cool if it's dark fantasy. I don't know what really that means, but yeah. Kendrick Starr says Dance Central 3 is one of the best games of all time. As a kid, I wanted to dance like Hammer and MJ, not be a guitar hero. Connect was the GOAT. Cool. Anyways, I think that's probably where we're going to end the show because I got to get going. I got like 10 minutes before we start this thing. So we appreciate everyone being here. Love you guys. Thanks for all the support. And we will be back next week for a new show, a new Xbox 2 on Friday, hopefully. Jez, you got anything to say before we get out of here?
Nah, man. Just vote Jez 2024 for the presidency of America. United States of America.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Later,
I'm gonna
guys.
go and try put mayonnaise in coffee right now.
Oh, Jesus. Keep it gaming and don't do what Jez is doing.